On this episode, we discuss Mortal Kombat.
Okay, so I guess I gotta pick a character here. Okay, which usually I like a big guy. Which one's the Zangief in this one? I guess this guy Shao Kahn. Okay, he's got a hammer. Okay, let's see how he does. Wait, he's not in the movie. Okay, so I have to pick this other dude. Okay, I'll do this guy. I hope he survives. What's his name? Like Rexor or something? Okay, cool. I'm gonna be him.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
It's me, Stuart, the number one Stuart, Wellington.
And it's me, Elliot Kalin, somewhere on the ranks. I don't know where I rank in comparison to other Elliots.
The tier list?
Yeah.
You're definitely A. I don't know if I'd say S tier yet, but you're getting there.
I don't think I know what this system is. Does S come before A? I don't understand.
S is the top. S tier.
Why?
I can't believe I have to explain tier rankings. So, like, F tier would be, I don't know, what's a bad Elliot? S tier is definitely Elliot Gould, right?
No, yeah, he's the best. That's true. A bad Elliot would be like Elliot from like Jeremy Irons' character Elliot from Dead Ringers. Would be like a bad Elliot.
Okay,
like
that's an F tier, I guess.
Okay.
It goes like...
Oh, no, okay. Michael Caine's Elliot from Hannah and Her Sisters, he's like a philanderer. Yeah, that's a bad Elliot.
This is not really explaining why.
So you got S tier.
Letters.
You got S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and then usually it just goes right to F tier. But I feel like our guests today probably have some very strong opinions on where different Elliots fall in this, right, Elliot?
Probably. We have guests I'd love to introduce, and then we'll talk about why Dan is feeling a little under the weather. But I'd like to introduce our guests joining us today to talk about Mortal Kombat, a movie they specifically requested that we allow them to talk to us about, are the hosts of the podcast Couples Therapy, Naomi Ekperigin and Andy Beckerman. You can see Naomi also on Apple TV's Mythic Quest, and they each also have their own podcasts. Naomi has I Love a Lifetime Movie, and Andy has Beginnings, an interview podcast. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about Mortal Kombat with a K. They spelled it wrong on purpose. It's not a typo.
I feel so honored,
and
thank you for I can't believe you are allowing this to happen because I will start yelling, but also I do want to know, am I the first black woman on Flophouse?
You are not the first black woman, but I would be lying if we said we had a lot. I'd be lying if we said
coming right out with the Z-Way question.
I really wanted to know. I thought I would be, and it was going to be very exciting for me.
Uh-huh.
But okay,
our
fine.
numbers are
That's
not
fine.
great, but you're not.
Yeah, we will.
No,
yeah.
We don't get to take
that.
a victory lap yet.
We're not
With the tiers, by the way.
in terms of podcasts that have black women as guests. We're not S tier for sure. Like,
Certainly not.
no, we're not F, but we're not S.
Yeah.
You know.
I still don't understand them.
So,
Yeah, why
I mean,
is-
it's
like,
the
I
ranking.
looked it up, and it doesn't, like, the Wikipedia on the tier system just says it. It doesn't explain it. It's very infuriating.
I feel
Where's
like
this
it
from?
makes a
Where's
lot
this
of
from?
sense.
Like, what's the origin of this
So,
system?
like, if you're, I mean, I'm assuming a lot of, we just got a whole bunch of new listeners today because they're all very interested to hear us talk about Mortal Kombat. So let's talk about a different fighting game. Let's talk about, say, something like Smash Brothers. If you want to rank Smash Brothers characters in order of, I don't know, like annoyingness to play against, you could put them in a tier system where S tier would be by far the most annoying, but F tier would be the lowest annoying.
No, I understand which letters correspond
clear
with
anything up.
quality. I don't know
like
why that
Wario,
letter.
my favorite character, of course, he would be an S tier annoying character because he has that move where he farts on you, which I think your son Sammy would love.
He would love that.
Is that because you love Elon Musk, too?
Yeah. That, I mean, I didn't. I've watched a lot of Saturday Night Live. I like to jokingly refer to it as the TV show, the worst TV show I've seen every episode of. But I have not watched that episode except I've seen pictures on Twitter. Should I watch that episode, Andy? Okay,
Oh,
you're
you
shaking his
shaking
I
Musk
head.
said no
episode?
as if I watched it.
I know. I was like, you haven't watched it unless you secretly
You know what?
watching it when I was asleep.
Audrey likes Saturday Night Live, and we watched it, and oh goddamn, there's some bad sketches in that Elon Musk episode.
Now, Dan, we should
Like-
we should wait before we get into that. I want to explain. You sound a little
Yeah.
different. You have a cold right now, so that people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the world is healing, which means that I am not. Like the fact that I am, vaccinated and out in the world, even though I'll still wear my mask inside with people, but I am now being exposed again to the viruses that my lousy immune system cannot handle.
Oh,
So I have a cold. I am in Buffalo, New York. My family is seeing one another for the first time since quarantine. We tried to pick a place to see one another. For some reason, we came up with Buffalo. It's still kind of a mystery.
You wanted to be in the place where William McKinley was shot.
Yeah.
Like that's how you rate vacation spots. Where president's shot here.
Yeah.
There's Texas. There's Washington
Right.
D.C. There's Buffalo, New York. That's it. There's no. That's the only place you go on vacation. Yeah.
Either one of my family members gave me this, or I gave it to my other family. Some of my other family members are now sick.
Wait, are you not from Buffalo? Like, I don't understand why you would ever be in Buffalo.
Yeah, this is okay. So
This is very upsetting.
after, other than like a few stopovers in the Philippines, where her family is from, and Florida, Audrey is a lifelong New Yorker, and I have been there for a couple of decades now, and I just cannot drive, and so we picked a nearby place that we could get to, and was on the East Coast. Or my family who's in Boston, they drove up. It's close to Niagara Falls, which we went and saw, but it is not Niagara Falls, which is a horrible place to be. Buffalo is a very depressed former industrial town, but it does have some interesting stuff. We
Yeah,
went
you
to
can see where
Carousel
William McKinley was
Museum.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been nice, except for the fact that I'm now miserably sick.
I should mention, Dan, I forgot one place you can go on vacation on your president's shooting tour, Milwaukee, where Teddy Roosevelt was shot after his presidency.
It's
Yeah.
another
My
episode of Who
assassination
Was.
vacation.
I can't take it, Kaylin.
Where was Reagan shot?
Yeah.
In D.C.
In
No,
DC?
where in
Reagan
where in
and
his
Lincoln
body?
and Garfield were all shot in D.C. What?
Where in his body?
Yeah, let me know.
So-
Look into
okay,
it.
let me look that up on
So,
my map of presidents' bodies.
Dan,
You go to Mar-a-Lago in an alternate dimension.
Dan, if you're feeling a little under the weather, why don't you eat some of those famously spicy buffalo wings to clear out those sinuses? That'll wake you up.
Or have some of those famously spicy buffalo chips.
So if I don't talk that much,
Okay.
just I've died.
Okay, so
Okay, that's fair.
That's-
That's fair. It's good. You have two guests for coverage.
I'm dialing 9
Yeah.
and 1 on my phone. I'm just
just
gonna
hover
Okay.
and just say
The
he's somewhere in Buffalo. I don't know. And so he's got a white tour.
Look for an Airbnb that is not as nice as his sister-in-law keeps claiming it is.
rare.
Oh, we know that one.
Oh,
we
this
know
cer-
which one he's
We know
talking
exactly which one.
Let's turn into a
Yeah.
Bravo show for a moment.
Yeah, spilling tea. So,
No,
Stuart.
it's good that
Stuart
she has
said
a.
spilling tea.
It's good that
That
she's
was
got a lot more optimism than I do.
So this is, so you're listening to the Flophouse. This is a podcast where we rag on the Airbnbs that our sisters-in-law rent, but it's also a podcast where we watch a bad movie, or maybe it turns out to be a movie we like, and we talk about it. And as you may know, if you saw it listed on your app, or you heard Dan mention it at the beginning, or heard us mention it also afterwards, today we're talking about Mortal Kombat. Came out this year. It's based on the fantasy video game of the same name, a martial arts fantasy video game. It's the directorial debut of Australian filmmaker Simon McQuoid, which is possibly the most Australian name I can imagine. And now, Mortal Kombat, I'm going to be doing the summary today, but I'm going to be relying on Stuart's knowledge of the game franchise the most, because it's a franchise I know a little bit about. When it comes to fictional universe continuity, let's say Marvel Comics is like my S tier. That's what I know the most about.
Yep.
Like, I know it. It's in my bones. It's in my blood.
He's a
And let's say
natural.
my F tier is like Outlander, something I know exists, but I've never seen more than a few snippets as I walk through the room while my wife watches it. I know it's super sexy and there's time travel, but I don't know anything else about it. Mortal Kombat is like is not quite in the middle, but in the bottom half of my knowledge. I know that I know Get Over Here, and I know Flawless Victory. But otherwise, I don't know too much about it. But Stu, you're an old hand.
Did you watch either of the movies?
I did watch the original movie when it came out in the theaters. That was 20 years ago almost. I don't remember it that well. The only thing I really remember about it, as I think I might have mentioned on the podcast before, is the lackluster intro for Goro, who is a four-armed giant man wearing little underpants and who has a ponytail. And in the old movie, he just kind of walks on screen as if it's no big thing, and you're not supposed to care or be impressed that there's a four-armed man walking around.
And what,
folks.
And why did you guys pick Mortal Kombat to be your movie of choice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Andrew.
So,
Andrew.
I was saying to Elliot before we started that I think there's a little bit of like quarantine euphoria that was involved in this. Because when we watched this, when it came out, we watched pretty much every film that came out on HBO Max.
Absolutely. We're Maxinistas. Yep.
We shop at TJ Maxx. We watch HBO Max.
Absolutely. At all times.
Mad Max, anything.
Yeah.
Sam and Max.
HBO Sam and HBO Max. Yeah.
And we watched this. I had so much fun watching this. And I am very aware of my mortality. So I don't purposely watch bad movies.
Oh, I will stop, okay? This is a household that does not need to see it through. Okay? So if I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, absolutely not, I am stopping, okay? There are animes to watch. I don't need to sit through this.
My Hero Academia's new season just debuted.
New season of My Hero Academia. The only reason why I know about S-Class is from One Punch Man.
Yep.
Because they have classes and he wants to be an S-Class.
Oh, we can talk about One
Anyway.
Punch Man instead if you like.
We're really supposed to talk about Mortal Kombat today.
I mean, I'd have to wait till Audrey gets back. She could tell you a lot about One Punch Man.
Oh,
That would
awesome.
be a
I love
switcheroo.
that.
Spin-off podcast.
But
Does she know anything about Outlander? Because I don't know anything about that.
I will say, with the Mortal Kombat, what do you call it, mythology, I was watching this being like, why did they make up this complex mythology to, just have people fight each other? And then Audrey was like, no, this is from the games. Like, she knew somehow. Like, this is all from the games, a lot of it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, as the games, they
Interesting.
started out pretty straightforward. And I know that as they went on, they got more and more story elements to them. Right, Stu? Oh, but anyway, we should finish. We
Yes,
should finish
but
your
why?
story about
So
watching the
you-
movie.
You asked Stuart a direct question, and then you...
I remembered we were in the middle of them
Yeah.
answering Stuart's question from earlier.
So
Okay.
I think we had so much fun watching this, and so I think there was some quarantine euphoria. Also, I think we've been out here in Los Angeles for about almost 4 years now, right? And this was like one of the first movies that I watched where I saw the producers' minds working in the background.
you
I
see
saw
the seams.
all the
you can see
decisions.
the seams in Mortal Kombat.
I saw all the decisions the executives and the producers made that had nothing to do with like wanting to make a good film, that had to do with like, we have a budget, can we stick to the goddamn budget? All those kind of decisions I saw for the first time, and I was like, oh, it's like the Matrix. It was like when Neo gets his powers in the Matrix.
And you start to see that's funny because that was your reason. For me, I love action. Okay, I'm here for a good time. I want to quip.
Yeah.
I want to see you defy gravity. And now this motion picture absolutely bored me, and I was livid. And I screamed the entire time. And so I wanted to talk about, because like for a genre, like I came in ready, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was like, I don't need much, and yet you made me real mad. And so it just felt like, to me, I thought, what a good motion picture to unpack.
Right. But also that was part of my excitement about it, was that like all I want from these movies is fights. Like I saw Godzilla King of the Monsters. Is that the one before the last
Yeah,
one?
Godzilla King of the Monsters.
I saw that in the theater with my friend, and I fell asleep in the middle of it. Because all I want, I just wanted them to fight. I don't care about Kyle Chandler or Eleven.
Didn't you want to know how they could use biofeedback to attract the monsters to each other?
Good question.
Did not care for a second, not a molecule of my essence, not an electron care about that stuff.
You're regretting
all I
that
wanted was
you didn't go on the internet and look up at what point do they fight and then show up late to the movie just so you can see the movie.
Yeah.
So 2 hours in, yeah. So
2 hours in.
And this, what I did appreciate was that it was the thinnest amount of exposition to get you from fight to fight.
Yeah.
And that I appreciated. Again, seeing the producer be like, no one gives a shit about any of their motivations. Just have them fight. Just like put in some stuff in a little bit of like peanut butter and jelly in the middle. and then it was all they
the
want to
fight,
see.
the fight is not the peanut butter and jelly? What is the fight then in this metaphor?
Yeah, if the fight's the bread. I mean,
Nutella.
look, I love
Nutella.
bread, but
I
you're
see.
not.
So you're eating Nutella with peanut butter and jelly on the outside, no bread. It's just okay.
Yeah. No bread. It's a disc.
Yeah.
It's a hard disc.
That's the double down of sandwiches.
So now
I guess the double down is a sandwich. I'm an idiot.
getting
Smucker's
fair.
Double Down.
It's barely a sandwich.
Double down of condiments.
Yes.
It's just a double down condiment disc.
The con double down. Now, Stuart,
Yep.
let me get back to the question I asked you and then interrupted you.
Go on,
So,
yeah.
tell us a little bit about the Mortal Kombat series, your experience with it, and what is this video game series? Before we jump into this, the movie. This is this is the movie event of 2021, Mortal Kombat.
Sure.
It may be the second biggest movie event of 2021 after that Sparks documentary that I cannot wait to see.
Yeah, I'm surprised you
It's
haven't
coming
seen
out
it
next
yet.
month, and I cannot
Oh,
because
next
it's not out yet. But I cannot wait to see it. Other than that, this is the movie event of the year. What is Mortal Kombat? Tell us.
Well, I mean, my history with Mortal Kombat obviously was with the original video game. I remember my when it came out on the Genesis. I played it in the arcade a little bit, but when it came out on the Genesis, my parents bought it for my brother and I for Christmas. We found it before Christmas, and we managed to open the packaging and play it when they weren't home, and then sneak it back into the packaging.
Wow.
Oh man, kids are terrible. It's a violent video game that originally used sprites based on photographs or film footage of actors performing.
They filmed actors doing. Well, there was a great article that was online years ago where they talked to the actors who basically created the characters and the fighting styles, and were then filmed, and then they digitized the film footage and added costumes to it. And those actors never received any payment other than the day rate they got.
That's crazy.
But that I remember as a
Seems
kid
right.
seeing it in the arcades, and the amazing thing about it was that the sprites looked like real people.
Yeah, real
blocky,
people.
Yeah.
digitized, but they looked like video footage.
And then
gouts
gouts of fake blood would squirt out of them when you would uppercut them.
and then it was super
Sometimes
gory.
someone's spine would come out.
It was like, whoa, this is not your daddy's Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Yeah.
Which is relatively bloodless,
Yeah, it was super
Wait,
violent.
Stuart, this was a Genesis game?
It came out on Genesis and Super Nintendo at the same time, although the Super Nintendo had they altered the blood so it wasn't as gory, and that is
'cause
bullshit.
Nintendo
Genesis
always saw
is
itself
for
as-
bad boys.
Nintendo, well, because
It'll
Nintendo
do
was,
what Nintendo don't.
Yep.
There it is. He ain't sick. He back. He back.
so
I want a shirt that says that.
so knowing that this is the second movie based on a violent video game that's
Third
whole
movie.
third movie. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. So what's the other one? Mortal Kombat
Annihilation, the
or-
sequel,
Okay.
direct sequel to the first one.
Now was that a crossover with Phantasm Annihilation?
Wait, which one's Phantasm Annihilation? Is that
Is
the
that
fourth
the
one?
fourth one? I think. Yeah.
Maybe.
Was it a crossover with the Marvel crossover Annihilation?
Yes. It's all those
Yep,
things are
it's
crossovers
all written by
together.
Dan Abbott.
Yeah, it's all Dan Abnett and Andy
Crossover
Lanning.
with,
Yeah.
What's her name's Annihilation?
Oh, right.
And Natalie
the-
Portman's Annihilation.
Natalie Portman's
Portman's.
Annihilation.
And Natalie
Yeah,
Portman's
yeah.
Ascent, Annihilation from
based
Calvin
on the
Klein.
Area
Yes.
X series by Jeff Vandermeer, of course. So they made a couple of there was a couple of games, and then kind of recently there was a relaunch of Mortal Kombat for the current generation systems. This was 5-6 years. I don't know. I got time wrong. But this was Mortal Kombat 9, just titled Mortal Kombat, and that kind of brought the series back. They had kind of strayed from its basic roots. They tried to do all these 3D shit. They did a crossover at DC, which then spun off into its own game, Injustice, which is fun. And then since then, they've released 3 games, which was Mortal Kombat, Mortal Kombat 10 or MKX, and then Mortal Kombat 11. And one of the big things that that Mortal Kombat 9 did was they took a hard look at the continuity. My mistake. I can't pronounce words today. And they tell the whole in MK9. They tell the whole story of Mortal Kombat, and then each game the story for a fighting game it has a very elaborate story mode. So it makes one wonder if you have this story mode that you can just watch somebody play through on YouTube. Why do you need a movie? Well, we'll find out while we talk about the movie.
We'll find out, especially since the recent Mortal Kombat entries have started bringing in characters from other IPs. So, RoboCop is in there, and Rambo is in there, and the Terminator. So it's and Freddy.
And Freddy, who has 2 claws because they couldn't figure out how to have the character be on either sides of the board or screen and have a claw only on one hand, so he has 2 claws, and you're like, oh, I guess it's fine.
That's nice.
I genuinely hope that this movie they make enough sequels to it that they get to the point where they're like, okay, what other IP does this this whoever put it out.
Dan,
What do we
they're
own?
making that
Let's put
movie.
it
It's
in.
called Space Jam. It's got every character from every Warner Brothers movie in it. It's nuts. Okay, but let's talk about this
Got
one.
Mr. Unioshi.
So, Mortal Kombat. Let's start. We begin, as most action movies do, in Japan in the year 1617, at the happy, peaceful household of loving dad Hanzo Hasashi. Or Hasashi? Hasashi. And Hanzo's out getting some water, and he's got a bad past behind him because his house is attacked by warriors. He returns to find his wife and son have been turned into sort of a frozen corpse pieta. And Hanzo gets mad. He kills a bunch of masked bad guys. He invents Scorpion's weapon by tying a rope to a garden spade, but he does not say "get over here" yet because he's speaking in Japanese. And then he confronts the leader of these bad guys, Bihan, a Chinese warrior with ice powers, and they fight. During that fight, Hanzo gets in a great nut punch on Bihan. That was my moment of the fight.
Well, can we also talk about how Bihan just talks to him in Chinese, and then for like a good 90 seconds, and then he's like, "I don't know what you said, but I'm mad at you."
Yeah.
And I just thought we didn't need all that if he didn't understand what he was saying.
Did you notice that Bihan kills the wife and child and then just sits back while Scorpion kills all his men?
Yep.
He's just sitting on a stump and just kind of like chilling out.
Yeah, there's a lot of action movie logic here where things happen because that's how they need to happen for fights. The same way that I forgot where it was that I once saw this like mathematical theorem of ninjas where it was for each ninja you add, the ninjas lose a certain amount of fighting prowess and strength exponentially. And that's why a one-on-one fight with the ninjas takes a long time, but if 20 ninjas attack you, you can just kill them like popcorn. Like you're just throwing them off.
Yeah, you can't fuck with the difficulty level of the encounter, Elliot.
That's true.
So if it's going to be 100 bad guys, they have to be kobolds or some shit.
So it's the overall difficulty level for the experience, and not for each individual foe. It's not kind of a universal. You can neither create nor destroy fight difficulty, I guess, is what it is. Like that's the law. I can't remember what that term is, and it's really bothering me that I can't remember it.
Law of conservation of energy.
Thank you. The conservation of fight difficulty. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So anyway, by the end, it doesn't matter how many times Hanzo punches Bihan in the nuts. Bihan kills him and says for Lin Kuei, which is his clan, but that's never really.
His clan of assassins.
Exactly.
But that is this clan of assassins. But like, I don't know that we ever hear that phrase again in the movie.
Not at all. And I'm like, what? And this is my problem. See, I'm already yelling. It feels like the movie gives you, like, it felt very paint by numbers. And so it's kind of like, for Lee Kuei,
Kuei.
And you're like, okay, do I care? But he said something, so check that box. He has a reason.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's not explained.
Like, it was like an improv 101. Everyone's like, wait, I have to have a justification.
Yep.
This is very relatable.
It's relatable, yeah.
this is
Improv
very
101. Keep
As,
going.
as long as we can bring more improv terminology into it, that'll be great. So Bihan's game is that he uses ice to kill things.
If this was a Harold, this would be like
First beats.
And so at the end of this fight, that's when one of the other performers runs across the screen and says, "That's our show. Good night, everybody." So Hanzo, you think he's dead, but no, he gets back up when he hears a baby crying inside the house. But then suddenly his body is burned to ash by magic fire. This is never really explained, but it doesn't matter. No, then suddenly, rain, lightning, a guy with a big hat and glowing eyes appears. That's right, Stuart. Who is this?
That's Raiden, baby. Now, you would expect Raiden to be played by Christopher Lambert, because that's who played him in the original. It's not him. It's a different actor. Because, different actors play the same character. It's weird. Have you ever heard of James Bond? So, and Raiden shows up, takes the baby, bounces out, and at this point you should fast forward until the last fight of the movie, and then the movie's pretty good.
You are very accurate.
Sure.
You are very accurate.
Stuart is right that Lord Raiden is not played by Christopher Lambert. He's played by Tadanobu Asano, who you may remember from Ichi the Killer or Electric Dragon, 80,000 Volts. He's in a lot of
And speaking of actors, the two actors, Bihan and Hanzo Hasashi, are both played by great actors, arguably the best actors in the movie. I mean,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
And they gave
for
him
sure.
Oh my
Well, this
God.
is something
so good.
This is something that you see in a lot of movies that have a Western and an Eastern cast. Like Martin Scorsese's Silence is like this, where there aren't huge stars in this movie, but you have like the American stars, or American or European stars, and then you have the Japanese or Chinese cast, and the Asian actors are so much better. And so that's such a higher level of character reality, even for a movie as ridiculous as this, or character intensity. Like you watch Silence, and you're like, oh, the Japanese actors in this are so
Silence,
good.
Mortal Kombat, same thing.
Yeah, same movie.
Same favorites.
Look, Tadanobu Asano, also in Silence.
Andy and I believe in this household. We often say we stand an international co-production.
Yes.
And this is just international co-pro at its finest, because you've got these great actors, and then like a random white girl shows up, and you're like, who are you? How did you get here? International co-production. You don't make sense with the vibe, but we legally had to have her in it.
Yeah.
Right, like the Meg.
Like the Meg, which she was in. Another international co-production.
Sonya Blade, you mean?
Sonya Blade, yes. But we'll get there. We'll get
So
there.
like Jessica McNamee.
But like Joe Taslim, who plays Bihan, later Sub-Zero, is fucking awesome. Like he's in The Raid, he's in The Night Comes For Us. He's a fucking badass. Beat the shit out of me, Daddy. He's amazing. And he's great, like even covered in like what is obviously like super heavy, unwieldy armor that he later rips off in an awesome fight. Like he's still great. Like he brings such great energy to what little he gets to do in this movie.
Yeah.
If you want a international co-pro, this is a TV show now, not a movie. But if you want one where the acting is superior, is like super on both sides of the continental divide, Giri Haji.
Absolutely. Just think about that, guys.
I will.
Think about that. We're not going to say more.
That's
but
all I'll be thinking about the rest of my life, probably.
Yeah, just think about that.
So the important thing is Lord Raiden shows up. He's super powerful. He has lightning powers. He takes the baby, and then lightning teleports away. Cut to on-screen text, which explains that Earth is about to lose an interdimensional fighting competition and be invaded by the evil Outrealm. But a prophecy says that Hanzo's blood will raise new warriors, and it is a lot of concept to suddenly dump on us. And it's like the movie is like, you're here for the fights. Like, you give a shit about this? Here's the backstory. Who cares? Like, we'll just dump it on you. It doesn't matter.
Let's talk a little bit about the Mortal Kombat tournament, because the rules of this thing are just wild.
They're a little flexible.
Yes, Dad.
Yeah.
Because, we're apparently you have to win 10 of these tournaments to take over. And so this is the 10th. We got to have stakes, so we're jumping in at number 10. But at that point, just simplify it for the audience, maybe. Just make this the important tournament. But also, apparently, it is totally legal that you can kill the competitors outside of the tournament
Ahead of time.
in order.
Not legal. They specifically say it's against the rules.
But also, they say it's against the rules, but there is no authority higher than the main bad guy and the main good guy. Whoever involved. It's not like the living tribunal shows up to pass judgment. It's just like, Shang Tsung, you're not allowed to do this, and Shang Tsung is like, ooh, but I guess I'll do it anyway. Like, there's who made the rules?
Who's the main guy?
Like, if there was no repercussions for Tanya Harding, doing.
I mean, she did lose, Dan, and also it wasn't really her fault, and she did lose.
I'm saying, if there were none, this Mortal Kombat treats it the same way. Like, okay, I guess I'll allow it.
There's nothing in the rule book that says you can't kill the opponents before the competition.
Who's the main Outworld guy?
Wait, in
What's his
the
name?
movie?
Shang Tsung?
Is that it?
Well, there's Shang Tsung,
says-
and then there's in the movie it's Shang Tsung, but there's also Shao Kahn and Shinnok and all these other guys.
In this movie,
No,
it's
because he says, leave the elder gods to me. And then later in the movie, I wrote this down. He wrote, the other gods are too lazy to stop me. No, that's his justification. He says, leave them to me. And then he's like, nah, we don't have to worry about them. They don't want to get off their asses.
And you're just like, okay. Well, then why even have an elder god if these elder gods are too tired? Like, it doesn't even make sense. But here's the thing, though. As you said, a movie that's just about fights, why not then make the whole movie these 10 tournaments?
Yeah.
yes, or just
That would have given me something.
or have the movie be the tournament as opposed to the movie being the prep for the tournament, which is ridiculous. Like, this is like the gory martial arts version of the Big Lebowski, where there's the big build. They're building up to a bowling tournament that you're never actually going to see. Like, but
It's the unveiling of the tallest building in Philadelphia, LA.
yes,
all
that's
over.
exactly what it is. Oh, that movie! I was thinking about that the other day. Just how funny it is when Split looks over to the building and is like, "And now." To go to it, and then they knock him down, and he never gets there. Oh, anyway, okay. So we meet now. We're going to meet our hero, We're at meeting Cole. He's a youngish guy, but he's already a has-been underdog MMA fighter. His teen daughter is always like, Cole, Dad, use your uppercut. He never listens to her, and he loses the match because he, for some reason,
And it's such
maybe
an
he made
easy
a promise.
move. You just
Yeah.
hold down and hit the punch button.
I mean, maybe he made a promise to his dying master that he would never use the uppercut. I don't
It's
know.
not like a
for whatever reason.
shoryuken, which is hard to do because you have to hit forward, down, and then down forward, which is a weird motion to master.
Down, forward.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we go to Outworld. This is where the bad guys live. Of course, it's like a big evil desert with mountains and stuff. Behan is reporting to his master, Shang Tsung. Okay, Shang Tsung, he wants to take over the Earth, make everybody have fun tonight. Everybody Shang Tsung tonight. Stuart, tell us about Shang Tsung. What do we need to know about this mean dude?
I mean, he's like a evil sorcerer guy, right? And he sucks people's souls out of their body, and he has the move where he can like transform into other characters. That's pretty cool, right? He doesn't
Yeah,
do
that is pretty
any
cool.
transforming in this movie. Didn't have the budget, I'd imagine.
They did not have a transformation budget.
So he's played by Chin Han, who, according to Wikipedia, was in the Ghost in the Shell movie, so he's a Flophouse repeat. Nice to see you again, Chin Han. So anyway, so Shang Tsung, he's a real mean bad guy. He wants to take over the Earth for some reason. He's worried about the prophecy that says that Hanzo's blood will raise a new class of warrior that will stop him. He's like, Bihan, just go to Earth and kill all the champions before the Mortal Kombat competition, which is very funny. I'm afraid that we're going to lose to them in Mortal Kombat, so go fight them where there are no rules, and they can do whatever they want and go kill them. And Bihan goes, I'm Sub-Zero now. And it's like, oh, sorry, dude. Okay. I didn't know you rebranded since the 17th century. Okay. Now, why do you think...
His recording label actually owned his old name, so he had to change
Oh,
it.
that's why.
Right,
That's
right.
Did
why.
you get the email from my publicist?
Yeah, somebody stole his account and is holding it hostage.
Okay, so Cole is going to meet ex-military tough guy Jax, spelled Jax.
Absolutely.
And Cole is like, yeah, anyway, I'm a fighter. I got a birthmark shaped like a dragon. Take a look at it. And Jax follows Cole's family to a hamburger stand where it suddenly starts snowing in July. What could that mean? It means Sub-Zero is on the attack. Luckily, Jax saves them in his
This is
truck.
pretty cool. I gotta say, like they.
Then,
this-
then
you know, this
talk
movie
about
is-
it. Talk about it. Paint us a word
This
picture.
movie is filled with. Thank you for the permission. This movie's filled with CGI, and that can look cheesy. But I really kind of liked the snow mysteriously starting to fall and then like falling backwards up into the air and then being assaulted by ice. I thought that all looked cool.
Yeah.
Pretty good special effect. Also a great special effect that's a practical effect, a real-life effect, Jax's arms. That guy has such huge
I said
biceps.
the same thing.
Yeah.
I said they were too much. I thought they were out of control. I thought it was excessive, and I was
Yeah.
like, is he doing that thing where you fold your arms, but then you like push them up with your
Maybe.
fists because they were just
Maybe.
really. Makad Brooks, you guys. Makad Brooks
Yeah.
is always coming through, giving us very like snackable. Look at me, I'm hot and buff energy.
Do you want me to have those kind of arms?
Absolutely not. I find them overwhelming. But if you kept your body the same except for the arms, that could be good.
Okay,
You
interesting.
can think about that.
No,
But
Naomi, I've got good news for you about the arms, bad news for Jax. Don't get used to those arms because we're not going to see them too much more in the movie. Jax is like, oh, yeah, sorry, keep talking about
you
his
don't
arms.
know. Okay, first of all, yes. So yes, literally everything you're saying, Elliot, is as bare as it was written in the movie. Because Cole is like, I fight. He has this daughter. It's like, is she 8? Is she 40? And then we don't. And then like they go right after the thing. But then it's like, where are you? Where are we located?
Oh, yeah,
in
I don't know
the
what's-
Is this like
what's-
Dayton, Ohio? Where are
They
we?
could be
don't
in.
know.
They could be in Texas. They could be in Brooklyn. They could be in Ohio. They could be in Washington State. It's impossible. to know.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely Earth realm though.
Yes, it is. They are in Earth. They're in.
Just
I think we can narrow it down to the United States of America or Canada.
Earth
but
realm.
otherwise, it's a.
And
And can I point out that Cole is a completely new character? This character has never been featured in a Mortal Kombat game
Yeah.
or movie.
Oh, really?
Brand
Why do you
new.
think?
Okay.
Now, do you think it's to avoid accusations of favoritism that they made the main character of the movie a new character?
Well, it's weird because the main guy behind the game is this guy Ed Boon, who famously his favorite character is Scorpion, which is kind of why Scorpion over the years has morphed into like more of a good guy because he was like a fire-breathing skeleton ninja guy with a thing. And like, the spear that he throws. And Scorpion has become more and more like the face of the game. Like if you go to a GameStop for some reason and want to buy a Mortal Kombat game, it probably has Scorpion on it.
I mean, please go to GameStop. I bought a lot of stock, and I would like the business to be doing better.
But like I assumed they were going to just make Cole Scorpion, but no.
No.
Change
For some
it up on
reason,
him.
and I wonder if they're like trying to build him up to put him in a game, or if they wanted to be eligible for the Best New Character Academy Award. Like you can't have a pre-existing character. But I didn't realize that, and that makes sense though because Cole is also a pretty bland, kind of basic character. There's like not much going on with him.
He's also in Wu Assassins, this actor, and that's a Netflix show. And that's just also giving us martial arts and fun. I told you, I watch it. I don't need much.
Yeah.
And he's fun in Wu Assassin. He's like kind of like the hot, cool fuck boy of like the main character, like the best friend, and then he's like, but he's also like a good guy underneath. That kind of energy. And so like when I saw him, I was like, oh, he's fun. But they literally just have him smize the entire film.
He's what we call a CW. He is a model that they just put into like someone's like, well, we can make more money off of you if you act too. And so they made him an actor, but he's really just a model. He's
also a good fighter. Like he knows how to fight, so he is like, but in this movie specifically, he's giving you CW again, like all the CW shows. Like he's giving you just like looks, you know what I mean? He's giving you angles, cheekbones,
blue steel,
but has no response to anything that's happening to him.
No one has a response in this entire thing. Crazy shit happens every 2 minutes.
Yes.
And no one has any kind of response except for one character.
Well, one of the
who's
things
yet to be introduced.
Yes, one of the we'll get to them. So Jax saves them in his truck, and he's like, "I got the same dragon birthmark. We're marked as Mortal Kombat champions." Instantly, Cole and his family are like, "That makes sense. Yeah, we're on board. I get it. Mystical champions. All right. Well, what do we do?" And Jax is like, "Go find my partner, Blade." And I was like, "Wait. Blade, the vampire killer? No, it's Sonya Blade. No such luck. Anyway, not IP. They're
He's
gonna
like, go to Gary, Indiana. Here's an address. Okay, bye. He's like, where are you in relation to Gary, Indiana?
Yeah. Also, up there with Buffalo is bad places to go. Before we get too far away from it,
well,
the
Dan,
CW.
I've heard nothing but good things about Gary, Indiana, and the one song that I know about it.
What a wonderful place.
Yeah.
Named for Albert Gary of Judiciary fame. Gary, Indiana. Like as Shakespeare would say, trips along softly from the tongue this way. Anyway, so
Dan, are you channeling someone else right now? Where did all that come from?
I was. Professor fucking Harold Hill, man.
Right, yeah.
No,
Sorry, it was just you looked like you went into a fugue state. But anyway, you're saying.
Yeah, your pupils got white.
Before we get too far away from the CW, I just want to say that I like what we're unpeeling what we're seeing about this relationship. That you guys have a lot of jargon around your household. You like there's a lot of media jargon that you build up.
Yeah,
that was
it's
it. That
true.
was it.
Thank you for understanding how our love has lasted this 11 years.
Yeah.
Based on having a closed loop terminology that is impenetrable to the outside world. Yeah.
Yeah, every relationship needs a glossary.
So he's like, go find Sonya Blade. I'm going to go fight Sub-Zero. Not a good idea. After creeping around in an entirely frozen abandoned building, pretty much. Oh, no, I guess it's entirely frozen later on. Sub-Zero freezes Jax's arms, and then they shatter, and then Jax falls down and hits his head. And
there is the great line.
In a violent way.
Yeah, when they first face off, and Jax says, "I did 6 tours, motherfucker," and you're like, against ice wizards?
Also, one of the things in this movie that took me by surprise at first was I forget, like, 90s action movies, there's tons of swearing, and I just take it in stride. But modern action movies, because so many of them, I guess, are pegged around a PG-13, hopefully, audience, or even like a soft R audience, they don't swear as much. And there's a ton of swearing in this movie. And for some reason, when a character would be disemboweled and their guts would fall out, that would shock me less than hearing a character be like, "Fuck this asshole." And I'd be like, wait, what?
I mean, it really felt like they were doing it excessively to like be like, "Fuck you, Dad. We can swear in our movie." Like that's the way.
Yeah.
This totally felt to me like it was a '90s Saturday morning cartoon that they remade in a live action. And were like, now we can put in all the swears we want.
Now we can
Yeah,
finally
swear
have
few.
Reptile and Goro do it like we were only able to hint at in the TV show.
I mean, that would be difficult with Reptile's acidic spittle. I mean, I think that would cause problems for Goro, but
That's
I mean,
possible.
I'll
No
watch
kissing.
anything once.
So, speaking of, we're back in Outworld. Shang Tsung is talking to his lady fighter, Melina, but then he's like, you don't go. Send in Sizoth, the reptilian. Now, this is the character Reptile, basically, right?
Yeah.
Or is it not? Because he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
look like what I'm used to. I'm used to character Reptile being just Scorpion, but with different colors.
Yeah, when
Oh,
they
that's why that thing was there. I didn't put together that it was sent because I was literally like, "What is this character?" Like, I was like, "What
Gary,
is this?"
Indiana,
okay,
you know?
maybe-
Wait, you just thought it was his own initiative? You thought the reptile like that?
Yes,
that lizard,
I was
the,
literally like, it's just like showing up places because it can like sense the the combatants, the
I think
champions.
it's like half alien, half predator because it's got like acid
Yeah,
saliva,
but it can turn
also has
invisible.
cloaking.
right.
And it looks
both,
like-
both
yeah.
characters that have been in Mortal Kombat games.
Yeah.
What?
And it also looks like Spider-Man's the lizard. So it's
Right.
So anyway, like I said, Cole and his family, they instantly believe Jax's crazy story, and Cole leaves his family behind after they've been attacked by an ice samurai monster to go find Sonya Blade. And when he gets to her, trailer home? It's like a mobile home that's stuck on the ground.
Like a junkyard.
She shows, yeah. She shows Cole her evidence dungeon about how people have been fighting in the Mortal Kombat tournament for centuries, and Cole has a hallucination of Hanzo for a moment. But then, he gets kicked out of that by Kano, our next big character. Kano is
Yeah.
a douchebag Australian mercenary that Sonya has chained to a chair in her house. Stuart, tell me about Kano. What can you tell me about Kano?
Kano's was like a sub villain in the original games, and he's always been an Australian mercenary gun runner bad guy. In the games, all his moves are kind of aggressive and extra shitty, and he has this one move where he rolls up into a ball and flies across the screen, which doesn't quite fit with his other moves, but it's pretty hilarious. And it's a good strategy to build because you can just keep slamming people around with your flying ball body.
Yeah. That's called in my marriage we call that an FBB, a flying ball body. That's just the term that we use
Cool.
in our house. So it turns out Kano is, we've set up our main characters. Cole is the innocent young hot guy who is kind of too noble for this world. Sonya is the lady who is trying her best to be a Mortal Kombat champion because she doesn't have a dragon mark. And Kano, who has a dragon mark because he killed a champion and the mark transferred to him, is the wisecracker. He's like the wisecracking asshole who just kind of is like, what? Well, I'm not going to do that. Why I oughta. That kind of stuff.
Why can you become a champion just by killing somebody else? Shouldn't the very nature of committing a murder mean you are not champion material?
I mean, it's
so
I
the
like
fact
this
that
argument.
Kano is even up in here because he's like, oh, I killed this guy and he happened to have a mark. Now I got the mark. Well, that don't check out. I thought you wanted to win Earthrealm.
Now,
if you want to win this, you can't just be giving any old body a mark.
It reminds me of in the movie at the end of the movie Gods of Egypt, where all throughout that movie, whether you get into heaven or hell is decided by how rich you are. And at the end, they go, you know what? Maybe it should be based on whether you're a good person or not. From now on, only good people will get into heaven. And it was like, what system was this beforehand? Why would you ever have it the other way? What are you doing? But okay,
I
the
will
lights go
point out this whole weird mark shit, this arcana that they talk about, which is a weird mark that you get if you kill somebody else that has the mark, or I guess you're born into a lineage of people with a mark, which is arguably worse. It also is keyed into some weird magic power shit. This is all new. This is not from the games. It doesn't make any sense. It feels like something that like an executive is like, I want to put my own stamp on the Mortal Kombat universe by introducing some dumb bullshit.
Well, it feels like there are a couple different parts of this movie where, and I always am impressed by this, when there's a movie based on a video game and they're like, I guess we have to come up with a story reason to explain why a ninja who can breathe fire is fighting like a vampire woman in the middle of a temple somewhere. Because in the game, of course, you really don't need a reason. But
No.
here, they really feel like they're trying to build in a backstory to explain, I think, why people have these abilities at all. Whereas in the game, it's just kind of like, here's a crazy bunch of weirdos. Here's a bunch of superpowered nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we don't have time.
I want a Kano movie, by the way.
Yeah, he was the only one having fun with it.
Kano
he
was
the only
having-
one having fun with it.
He was having fun with it, but the lights go out. That invisible reptile monster with the acid blood attacks Sizoth. Working together, they kill it. They manage to stab a flare into its body so that they can see where it is. And Kano rips out its heart and says, "Kano wins," which is one of many little
wins.
eye winks at the audience. And Kano was like, I saw Lord Raiden's temple. I can take you there for $3 million, mate. And they tell him they'll
That's
pay him
so
that.
good.
That's
Elliot.
amazing.
That was so good.
I was
Yeah.
It's like a
practicing.
Hemsworth.
Yeah. And
I
on
feel
the,
like I'm in Melbourne right now.
yeah, on the way there, Cole has another vision of Hanzo, but don't have time for that. And the visions don't
Nope.
really matter. Doesn't matter.
Nope.
They parachute into the desert. Where instead of parachuting to the place where they want to go, they parachute a couple miles away so that they can walk the rest of the way.
Right.
Okay.
And those are my favorite. It's like, okay, is that what you consider a story turn? You know what I mean? Like, we need to pad this a bit. Maybe they have to walk a little. And it's also, again, we have to go, because this is from the beginning, we are starting with Cole, right? We are supposed to, our entree into this world is supposed to be this guy who's a fighter, who's not very good, though, but he has a daughter, and whenever a man has a daughter, he's our hero.
Yeah, he's got heart.
And so he has his daughter, but you're like, Cole, these people just showed up. Somebody made it snow in July and then froze the street, and then you had to go to Gary, Indiana. How are you feeling? Where are you emotionally with this journey? And he's just walking. He's just walking. He's just hanging. He ain't got nothing to say. And that is so strange to me. For all the work of building the backstory,
Maybe he's dead inside.
but he has that daughter. If you have a daughter, you can't be dead inside. That's the hero code.
Yeah.
That's the rule.
Well, he's a family man. I mean, in his perfect world, he would be played by a young Tom Hanks, and that's how you. And he'd bring all that character to him. I mean, the young Tom Hanks would be ripped in this version of the scenario.
Love it.
Like Bosom Buddies era, when he was really
When he was working
Yeah,
out
just-
a lot, Bosom Buddies era, when he was
shredded.
he had those 40-inch pythons. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Cole is. I mean, he is a total blank. He is an open doorway for us to walk into the world of Mortal Kombat, and there is otherwise not much there. And there's this rivalry between Kano and Sonya that has so much more personality than anything that Cole is doing. Yeah. And Kano taunts Sonya into attacking him, and he's like, "Kill me then, take my dragon mark," but she won't do it. But that's okay, because suddenly out of the sunset, who's walking in? It's Liu Kang with his karate fire hands. Stuart, tell me about Liu Kang.
Liu Kang was always kind of the bland good guy who
Until Cole came along.
Yep, exactly. And I mean, Cole kind of is filling the role that Liu Kang normally would fill. At some point, he's like the lover of Princess Katana, who's the daughter of Shao Kahn. And he is like a monk, and he can turn into a dragon in some of his fatalities.
Guys, the collective amount of bullshit that is in all of our brains.
Yeah.
I don't know what we could do with it, but if we could harness that power somehow.
I mean, we did. It's called the Flophouse. Yeah, this is the only way to do it. I don't.
it all swirls together and creates some kind of Lovecraftian dark god that will destroy the earth.
Made of fictional mythoses and things. Good news, they get to Raiden's cave. They learn about the past because the cave is decorated with historical Mortal Kombat murals, and as we know from the Zack Snyder
It's all
Justice
about
League,
wall work. That's what they do in this movie, right?
Yeah.
Sonya has a wall, and now there's a wall in this cave, and just let the wall tell the story. Okay, no one has time to talk to you. No one has time for a flashback. Just let the wall
do it. It's just like in the Justice League movie. Murals are the best way to communicate complicated backstories.
And that's the interesting difference between Earthrealm and Outworld, because the heroes of Earthrealm decorate their walls, whereas Outworld, they have no walls. Not even the throne room.
wall.
It's just like a cliff.
Yeah, it just,
Yeah,
it's
what were
just,
those people doing in the background, by the way, in Outworld? They were just wandering around. Is that what?
Yep, going
I
on a
think so.
pilgrimage.
I mean, no wonder they want Earthrealm because there's stuff here. There's nothing in Outworld. So who wouldn't want? I mean, if anything, you totally sympathize with the people of Outworld who just see Earthrealm and they're like, look at all the things they have. We have nothing, and they're not offering it to us. So we better go in and take it.
Outworld
Right.
looks
Remember the George Carlin bit about how Outworld doesn't have stuff and Earth
Yeah.
has
Yeah, his
to have
famous
all
Mortal
the stuff.
Kombat stuff bit. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, the 7 fatalities you can't do in the Saturday morning cartoon. Yeah,
Outworld is all one big concept art drawing for a desert. That is Outworld.
Yeah, Outworld it's your basic Tatooine, Arrakis place that the tuning forks take you in Phantasm, where it's just like an open desert and there's no
Two
stuff.
Phantasm references.
I've been thinking about
it's cheap.
Phantasm a lot
It's
lately.
Yeah.
It's cheap. I think that's the point, you know?
Yeah, and it is very cheap. Yeah, because there's no stuff. You don't have to fill it with anything.
Oh, wait. Can I quick point out something that we only saw on the second time watching the movie?
Please do.
When
Fighting that reptile.
when they're fighting the reptile, when like Kano
Kano.
and Sonya Blade,
Kino.
like
When keynote speaker...
When,
With the keynote
when
speaker-
Kino
when he's-
Lorber is fighting the reptile, yeah.
or someone asks Sonya, "Where's your marking?" and she goes, "I don't have one." And then Kano in the background goes, "Wah wah."
That's great.
And I only saw that the second time, and I died.
Yeah.
It was so funny, and that's what I wanted more of. That's
Yeah.
what I love. I'm like, give me the wah-wah in the back. And I also love that it was in the background. There was no need to cut to him. Just like, let me hear
Yeah.
that and really enjoy that. And that was very delightful.
It was the kind of energy that like the first Mortal Kombat had, where it was like this weird, the original Mortal Kombat movie had this, it was like a weird tournament at this rich sorcerer's magic island where like all these weirdos just showed up because they're like, I want to fucking battle. And you had like a little bit of everything. You had like jerks like Johnny Cage, you had jerks like Kano, you had Sonya Blade who wanted to kill Kano, you had a Goro. It was great. But this movie, it's like the motivation is just like protecting Earthrealm. Who gives a shit about that? I want people who want to go to a fucking tournament on a magic island.
Well, because the first Mortal Kombat is very much still in a time when martial arts means Enter the Dragon. Like, it's still living in that world where, like, if you're going to have martial arts fighting, it's going to be kind of a Enter the Dragon type of space. But now it's in the world of Marvel movies where it's like, if we play this right, every single one of these characters is going to have their own movie, and we're going to have like a trilogy where they go to Outworld and overthrow Shang Tsung or whatever. So it's they gotta add all this junk. When it would be so much more fun if it was just like you just saw all these characters getting on planes and buses heading to the tournament. You know,
It's way better.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jax is also at Lord Raiden's temple. His arms are gone, and he is unconscious. Uh-oh, what's going to happen to Jax? Liu Kang is like, you guys need to train or Earth will be ravaged. And he introduces them to Lord Raiden, who is visibly disappointed that these are the people who showed up.
Absolutely. He's like, you don't even have a mark, woman. I don't know what you're doing here. You're a
Yeah.
liability.
Who
Also,
invited
there's
her?
like 3 or 4 of them show up, right? Like it's just like this tiny group. Like, hey, we
It's
thought
like,
we
we're
might
here.
fight.
I heard this wasn't a birthmark, so I'm here to fight, I guess. Like, it's
Do I
so-
get like a coupon for some Dairy Queen or something? What's
He
the...
turns to Cole and he's like, and what are you? Like, who are you? What is your deal? Like, why are you here, Cole? I have a daughter. That's not enough. Like, that's not enough.
I don't think they could give away a coupon to Dairy Queen because blizzards are Sub-Zero's weapon.
Very good, well put, Stuart, because Sub-Zero shows up and he starts fighting Liu Kang, but then he gets saved by a guy with a really wide hat. Stuart,
That's
who's
Kung
this guy
Lao.
with the...
Elliot, the funny thing about you asking me this is that when it's a funny thing we talk about Kung Lao of all people, is when I went and saw this in the theater, I went with my buddy Riff. We went to a 5 o'clock.
Riff?
Yeah, my buddy Riff.
He's a junkyard cat.
Yeah. we went to a 5 p.m. screening. We were the only people in the movie theater. So I felt totally comfortable anytime a character like, for instance, Kung Lao would show up, I could turn to him and be like, hey, Riff, that's Kung Lao. He obviously knew it was Kung Lao already, not only because the character announces it as soon as he arrives, but also because he's a fan of the video games like me. And we would, we would laugh. It's so funny.
I would like to say, as someone who knows Riff, the person you are imagining when you hear the name Riff is Riff. That's Riff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, he is-
Thank you very
It's like
much.
my
fits
friend
the name.
Thor.
He's a total Riff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Thor is a real Thor too.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That wasn't a joke?
Nope.
What a life you live, Stuart.
Oh,
with his cabinet of figures and eating whole mangoes, no bites. Just giant. You guys, he was having
Just
giant chunks
slurping
of
them
mango,
down.
no
Right.
bites.
He just put the whole mango in his mouth and pulled out the skin and the pig.
Pulled out a fish skeleton, which is the weird thing.
Somehow.
Right, him and Riff.
So Liu Kang is like, hey, you each have special powers called Arcana, and you're going to figure what that are. They're going to merge through training. The more you fight, the more your Arcana comes out, but only if you have a dragon mark, Sonya. And also, Jax gets robot arms, but they're really like little and wimpy. Like
The
they look like
littlest
Johnny
guys.
Five's arms.
Yeah.
And,
Yes!
And so now it's a lot of training. Cole is training against Kung Lao's Razor Hat, and there's this part. I think it's the only part of the movie. There's a lot of synth on the score, and I was loving it. Like, I loved the score in that part. I'm a big sucker for synth. As I said, it's the Sparks movie. That's what I'm most excited about this year.
There's a lot of fighting that takes place in this like sand pit area, and I hope you
Yes.
like it because that's basically where all the fights are going to take place.
You're going to see a lot of fighting in the sand. It's training. And Jax's confidence are down because he's got these skinny robot arms that don't punch very well. And Sonya gives him a
Cole
pep talk.
can't get his Arcana. But here's the thing, too. Again, so we have this fight, right? We know it's the last fight. They're in this realm that's just like a sandbox. Are they there a day? Are they there an hour?
No idea.
What's happening on Earth?
Right.
The wife and the daughter are in some house where I'm like,
They're
whose
like a
house
cabin
is this?
somewhere.
Yeah, a cabin. But it's like, and like stuff like that to me where I'm like, you could give me a sense of how time is passing and why maybe we care. Like whenever like Earth is in danger, right? There's nothing I love more than like a little pop to Earth and like suddenly locusts fall from the sky. You know what I mean? They're like, oh God, the bridge is breaking, the space time.
Or put a calendar in the corner. Put a calendar in the
and
corner
have the
and show
pages
the
fly
pages
off. Yeah, sure.
fly
Yeah.
off.
Beard
Climb
grows super long.
Super long. I think Cole should have a long beard as by the time he's done training.
I wanna see
Or
them-
if you're ZZ Top, your long beard gets longer.
Yeah, even longer. Until you're tripping over it. I want to see them. They have a page-a-day calendar in the corner, and you just see the pages falling off, and then Liu Kang is like, close that window. It's blowing all the pages off the calendar. So
What about just a clock and you see the thing
Yes.
spin
and Liu
like
Kang
a
is like,
helicopter?
hey, someone fix that clock. It's spinning too fast.
And that's and fans
Yeah.
of the games would clearly see that's a reference to Kronika, the bad guy from one of the later Mortal Kombat entries.
Wow, Stuart. Absolutely.
Sneaking in
Kronika,
Easter
the,
eggs.
the marijuana-themed Mortal Kombat
Is it
villain?
Kronika an album?
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, she
it's-
used the Necronomicon.
Okay. Now, we know they're there at least 2 days because they're eating dinner at one point, and Kano is super rude to everybody. And Liu and Kung, they just taunt him until he starts shooting eyes lasers out of his eyes. And he's like, yes, my Arcana, it's an eye laser. Cole's still won't come out. Even after they hit him a bunch of times. It just won't come out. They don't know. And Raiden is like, hey, Cole, you're
Just
descended
shy.
from Hanzo's baby that I saved. Go to your family. I don't need you here anymore. You're just a baby to me.
He's like, you are very disappointing. You can leave. And then he opens a portal and Cole's like, okay. He's like sad, but he doesn't really put up a fight.
Yeah.
He's like,
Does
okay.
anyone explain why Earthrealm waited so long to gather everyone?
I don't know.
They really
I feel
put it
like
off till
someone's memo didn't get sent. So, like, it really seems like a letter got lost along the way, and they're like, "Oh shit, is it
Right.
that day already?"
Yeah.
The email was in the draft folder. They forgot to hit send.
Also, like that Lord Raiden is like, I have 3 people to choose from. Cole, you're one of them. You're gonna have to pack your knives and go. Like, I don't want you here anymore. It's like, you have nobody else. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You have no one.
I mean-
it's just like,
I can assume that they were sending emails to like the U.S. Senate, and the U.S. government's like, the American people don't care about stuff outside of America. Okay, they don't care about
Yeah.
Outworld, yada yada.
Well, the Democrats kept sponsoring bills that would increase funding for Mortal Kombat fighters, and Mitch McConnell would get up and be like, I don't think we need to have all this government support of Mortal Kombat fighters. This isn't necessary.
honestly, is this,
this movie-
Elliot's
this-
real? Is this
Oh,
real?
yeah, I
real?
got-
Because he's doing so much.
I've got to do
By
2
the way,
more
this
voices.
is the movie I want to see.
You want to see, the Senate, turning down funding
when the
for
when the
Mortal
Senate is
Kombat.
debating over it, and Mitch McConnell's like, I think Lord Raiden has more than enough fighters already his command. I don't see why we need to increase government funding from our taxpayer dollars. He's already
Elliot-
he's got a Kano. He's got a Liu
Elliot,
Kang.
What might Bernie Sanders say now?
And Bernie Sanders would be like, it is unconscionable that in European nations the government fully supports Mortal Kombat fighters, but here we have to put it on the average American to fight against Outworlders. It's unconscionable. We can't allow it, and we're not going to allow it.
You know, I mean, if you were a little bit sort of like beefier, Elliot, you would be a dead ringer for like a younger Bernie Sanders. Like,
Because I'm
I've
Jewish.
seen
I mean,
old-
just that I'm Jewish. That's the.
No.
I'm a Jewish guy with glasses, but thank you.
Yeah,
It's the
that's true.
biggest compliment of all to be told I am a thinner Bernie Sanders. Thank you.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then and Elizabeth Warren, and now I'm just doing all my impressions. Now Elizabeth Warren will be like, Elizabeth Warren's like, we need Mortal Kombat fighters. I've got a plan for that. Here's my plan for that. Anyway, so.
You have the
What
depth
is
of. Yeah, this is the.
They've got a
This is
Sub-Zero.
the depth
We've got
of
a
the
Cyber
average Saturday
Sub-Zero.
Night Live impression.
Well, we need to take this episode and kick it back to like 2 years ago, basically, when there were still all these candidates in the running. Then we make it my reel. I get on SNL. It's a terrible experience. I don't enjoy it.
Right.
But that's how I get catapulted into having small roles in lots of comedy movies that I don't enjoy. Okay, so Outworld. Let's meet some more baddies because Shang Tsung's about to bring up K-Ball. Cabal,
Cabal.
Nitara, who gets a big build-up and is killed instantly later on, and General Raiko, who was, I think, the one I was least interested in. He's just like a big dude with a lot of hammer or something. He seemed like there was less going on with him.
Two characters, him and who's the one with the wings?
Nitara.
Two brand new characters of the series, so fans of the series were like, I know who's getting a fatality performed on them.
And
so the woman with the wings is not from the video game.
No.
Now, I was like, there's not enough going on in the actual video game that they had to make a woman with wings? Because I really felt like they have enough characters to play with.
They have a ton of characters,
Like, okay.
but I don't think they want to kill them off with fatalities so quickly.
I see what you're saying. But so as a person who had played the game, when the characters you recognized came on screen, were you satisfied? Were you sated?
Well, I immediately turned to Riff and said that character's name out loud.
Absolutely. Yep.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't care. I mean, the roster's so large, and they only showed a few characters. Didn't get to see any of my favorites, like Johnny Cage or. Man, I guess I was a big fan of Kano, and I feel like Kano is represented as like a shitty asshole who you shouldn't like, but by the fact that there is no other interesting characters, you have to root for the racist asshole.
yeah,
Yep.
He's the only one with personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shang Tsung is like, I want you to strike, but first you have to take down Raiden's shield at his headquarters. So yes, it's the same thing that the heroes have to do in Justice League, but backwards. It's the villains doing it now. And it's weird because Cabal hates Kano. He hates him. And
Yeah, they're
Prince
like
Goro's,
former colleagues, and
they're
now
former colleagues. And you get the feeling that Cabal, who's in like a suit of like a living like he's a cyborg,
A
basically.
Mad
this
Max suit.
Yeah.
He's like in a Mad Max outfit, and he says he has an iron lung.
Yeah, that Kano probably put him in that situation. But so Cabal visits Kano, and I'm like, so the shield that's stopping them, that didn't bother him when he went in to. It's one of the things where like there's a shield keeping us back, so go in there and turn the shield off. Okay. Or we could just go in, like if it's not that big an issue.
Maybe if you go really slowly through it, it's not an
that's
issue.
the thing. It's like a really slow one at a time thing. It's
I
not
get
a good
you.
way to-
I get you. And he's like, Kano, you should shut down that shield and turn into a bad guy. And Kano does exactly that. And Shang Tsung shows up. Meanwhile, who shows up at Cole's family's house? Goro.
Prince Goro.
Oh.
Okay.
And everybody starts fighting and battling. Battle. You get your first really gory death as Kang Lao's hat becomes like a spinning saw blade that cuts Nitara right down the middle.
Classic fatality.
Yep. And she's the Slipknot of the film. Big build-up character dies almost instantly.
Yeah.
And Kung Lao says, flawless victory. Another tip of the big, wide, razor-brimmed hat to
Now,
the
normally
true
to get a
fans.
flawless victory, you have to not get hit at all, and I feel like he got hit somewhere in there, but I have to check the tapes.
I mean, to be
But
fact,
did
this
his
is
life bar go down any though? That's the thing you got to figure out. Steve.
Well, he might even take chip damage on block. It just depends on the attacks he was blocking.
Well, and it seems to be pretty clear that they kind of all make up the rules and judge themselves. The way Shang Tsung is like, I guess I'll kill all of my competitors beforehand, and Kung Lao is just when you're judging your own match, of course it's going to be a flawless victory. Like, come on, there's no way it's not going to be. Cole is fighting Goro. Cole's
Can
wife.
we talk about how Kano, though?
Yes.
And this is another thing to me, like this finesse of, like, for instance, I like Kano. I know he's a wild card. I know he's going to bring us down, naturally.
Yeah.
yeah.
But this is where the laziness of the motion picture annoyed me. Because literally this guy's like, I fucking hate Kano. And then he's like, Kano, you stupid bitch. Come fight with me. I fucking hate you. And Kano's like, all right. And, like, that was it. Like, that, there was no sense of, like, Kano
No drama. There was no
sense of- no hiccup, no challenge, no need to be seduced. Because I thought they could at least play that a little longer. Like Kano maybe with him like slowly kind of creeping around,
The
getting
seduction of Kano. Now, is that not a film?
Now, Mortal Kombat :
The seduction of Kano.
Wow, yeah. And so Cabal is like laid out on pillows and
By
stuff.
Zalman
And
King.
Yeah, he's late, but he's like so mean. Like the whole time, he's like, "I hate you, but also come do this for me for some money." And I'm like, "Is money even gonna mean anything in
Outworld?
Earth realm?
Right.
Is
There's nothing
Outworld-
to if Cabal's just like, take all my money, dumbass. There's nothing to buy here. Like
feel
it's
like in the-
it's useless.
I feel like in the games, if you get like combat coins, you can just spend them on different outfits for your character, which
Okay,
I mean, that
outfits.
kind of thing looks great. I mean, hey, we've all opened up one of those boxes in Overwatch to get the cool outfits, right? The Halloween costumes, but you know,
Yeah, we've all.
we've all done it.
The
But
universal
it's not
experience.
necessary. You know, you don't need it, but you kind of need it. You know what I mean? It's a gray area. Is what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
sure. I have two things I want to say. One, Dan, you mentioned Zalman King, which is a great name for a Mortal Kombat character. And two, no, you're right.
Some sort of king, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would have to assume so. You mentioned I kept expecting Cabal to be like, Kano, join us and take down the shield. And then Kano would do it, and then Cabal would kill Kano and be like, you shouldn't have trusted me. But that's not what happens. Kano's
No.
just a bad guy now. It just,
Yep.
it doesn't, the characters are not consistent. Anyway, the Goro fight. Cole's wife, she runs up. She's got to save her man. She chops Goro in the side with an axe. Justice League comparison, unlike wussy Darkseid, he does not instantly give up after being hit with an axe once. But then Cole's Arcana.
Darkseid featured in the Injustice video game made by NetherRealm Studios, who also make Mortal Kombat.
Ah, okay.
Okay, this is a lot, Stuart. This is too much,
So
Stuart.
just
Sorry
take
if I'm
a,
stunting on you.
just take a picture of your your wall with all the connections and yarn and send it to us.
Between
afterwards.
different video game companies. It's all publicly available information. There's no reason for
It's
him
like
to do it.
the Tommy Westfall universe on TV.
Exactly. Okay, so
That's a common reference, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The Tommy Westfall
yeah,
universe.
that's a relevant, topical, recent reference. Sure, yeah. So it's Cole's Arcana kicks in to save his family because he's a family man. What's his Arcana?
Yeah.
It's a little confused. He gets metal skin and he has blade wrists and a super uppercut. And he just cuts Goro up and he blinds him. I think he pokes his eyes out and then he disembowels him and Goro's guts come out. And I was like, this is pretty gory. Like, this is pretty disgusting. So Goro, he doesn't, once again, Mortal Kombat movies just kind of don't do justice by him. He doesn't get much time, you know.
No, and
Probably because he's an expensive character to show a lot of because he's a giant. He's an all CGI giant with four arms.
another missed opportunity is when Cole finally unleashes his fucking uppercut, just like in the game, blood flies everywhere. But what they don't do is have somebody's head pop into the corner of the screen and say, Toasty, which is a key part of the game. It's hilarious. Never happened once. And other characters get burned alive. Doesn't say there's no Toasty moment. I think it's
And
terrible.
was there ever
Thumbs
a friendship
down.
moment in this or no?
Well, I don't think so.
friendship
I wish
moment?
that a hero had like helped another hero and then gone friendship. Like
Well,
that
you
would have been
fight,
great.
You would fight for a whole time, and then you would give them like a teddy bear, and then instead of fatality above their body, their dead body, it would be the words friendship written in
Yeah.
balloon animals. Sorry.
That's another thing you can
Wait,
do in Mortal
why
Kombat.
would you give them? But why would you give them a teddy? Like in what? I don't understand.
In Mortal Kombat,
Yeah, I don't either.
if you don't want to do a fatality, you can do a friendship, and you give them like a cake or a teddy bear or a heart, and it just says friendship, and you don't kill
and it
them.
stops the fight. Like whatever fighting
Yes.
you're doing, you just stop.
Yeah,
because
because that's your victory move
and
at
it's
the end.
over.
Yeah.
Your victory is the moral victory of knowing that you could have
Yes,
won.
you are
but
magnanimous
you've
in
chosen.
victory. Yes.
or,
yes.
Right.
or if you
Right,
really
moral combat.
or if you want to make your
Yeah,
opponent
moral
feel
combat,
terrible.
exactly, yeah.
If you have,
What?
if you want to make your opponent feel terrible, if you did not use the block button a single time during the match, you can perform a babality, which
Oh, those
turns
are
your
great.
opponent into a baby.
I wish that had been in the movie. I was
Yeah,
waiting
it
for that to
turns
show
them
up in
into
the
a
movie
baby
too.
version of their character.
Yeah, that's a
Do
baby.
that
Now-
take care of the baby?
I don't think. I mean, we don't follow the life of the baby afterwards, so I can assume yes.
You
Now,
raise
does
them?
this now is this in the later version? So could one make like a Freddy Krueger baby?
Yeah, theoretically.
Okay,
I can't remember if they had babalities in MK9 with Freddy Krueger, but I'm pretty sure there's one
Okay.
where like you get a little Jason Voorhees baby in MKX.
I mean, but that's just the end.
crazy.
That's just the end of Friday the 13th Part 8. A little Jason baby.
Exactly,
But anyway,
it's the same thing.
yeah.
This is crazy. Wait, I don't. I still don't even understand why these other characters can be in the video game, but that will be a separate episode, perhaps for your Patreon.
It involves intellectual property law. It's really
Right.
exciting.
The IP house.
Okay, so yeah, let's so we'll keep moving with this because there's not that much movie left. Jax's Arcana finally kicks in. It means that his robot arms become big versions like his human arms were. They're just big robot arms. And he saves Sonya from a bunch of fallen boulders. Lord Raiden brings Cole back to the cave, and Shang Tsung steals Kung Lao's soul and just dries him up like a withered husk. And Raiden teleports the good guys to a void. He's like, I don't know what to do. We don't have a lot of good guys on hand. And Cole, master strategist that we know him to be from throughout the movie, he goes, they don't want a competition? Let's give them one. We'll each split up and take on a different opponent in a different place. And I'm like, yeah, like the work that a screenwriter has to put into explaining why you have one-on-one fights in different backgrounds, like that's really funny to me. So, but it's funny because it's like the idea is we'll split them up and take them on one-on-one, as if teamwork was the secret strength that Shang Tsung's people had, and that's why they were losing. They were all one-on-one fights. Why does it matter if they're in different places? But anyway, that's what they do. Super battle, super battle, super battle.
Location.
Jax fights Raikou. Head smashes him, Story of Ricky style. Yes.
So that's a thing. Like, obviously, that's a classic Jax fatality, smashing that dude's head. However, they're having the fight on the fucking pit, on this bridge above a pit, and that had a stage fatality where you could uppercut your opponent off of the bridge, and they would land in the pit bottom on some spikes, and then sometimes you'd go down there and fight Reptile. Why didn't they do that, guys? Can anyone answer that?
Yes. Absolutely. You're correct.
Thank you.
You're correct. This is... Damn. But then here's a question. Like, do you think this is a movie that was, like so many blockbusters, written, like, rewritten 100 times? Because it, to me, feels like a first draft. Like, it feels like a movie that was not written enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even what you were saying, Elliot, too, about, like, it's like, okay, we're in the void now. Why don't we just go fight them one-on-one?
Right.
It's like, okay, first thought, best thought?
They took Elliot's synopsis and they turned that into the movie.
They did. Like, it's just like really...
That's the shooting
fell
script.
It fell back in time, and they were like, yeah, let's just do the movie that way. It sounds like we did. So Jax kills Raikou. Sonya fights Kano, stabs him in the eye with a garden gnome, and his dragon mark transfers to her arm. Looks like she's a champion now. And
which is all she wanted. All Sonya wanted was to be in the
That's
main.
her character.
She
Okay.
just want to be a +1.
What do we? She had a little Dolezal energy. We were calling her kind of Rachel Dolezal, but for champions.
yeah,
Audrey was asking me. She was like, "Do you think this is like a commentary? Like the one woman like needs to prove herself to get the mark?" And I'm like, I don't think they thought about it that much.
I think it is more a symptom of that kind of assumed misogyny than it is a commentary on that kind of assumed misogyny. Like Liu Kang, he just lures Cabal into some tar and then makes a fire dragon that eats him. It's not Cabal kind of just walks right into that one literally.
Right.
And Sonya can shoot like plasma blasts or something and kills Melina, who is the kind of
Josh
Psylocke.
Molina?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, the writer.
Alfred
she's a kind
Molina?
of Alfred Molina kills Alfred Molina. Oh, it's terrifying. Sub-Zero kidnaps Cole's family. I don't know why. Not sure why, but he does.
Yep.
Cole is already itching for a fight. There's no reason to bring the family into
Maybe
it.
he knows the family is susceptible to ice attacks.
Maybe, yeah. Unless he was like
the bloodline
bloodline
is susceptible
if,
to ice
I mean,
attack.
well, that's the thing is, they could have something in there. Maybe there was, and I missed it, about like cutting off the Hanzo bloodline because Cole's daughter obviously is the next in that line. But he doesn't say that because Sub-Zero is a man of very few words. He's Bi-Han. The only thing he says is "I'm Sub-Zero." So Cole fights him for a while, and the building that he's hidden in now, his kind of Ninja Turtles abandoned warehouse lair, is now fully frozen.
And it's like an MMA arena, right? It's
the one from the beginning. This is where I like, again, I could see the producers going, look, we built the stupid MMA ring. Can we just use it a second time? We don't have the money. Just put some ice on it and make that the final place.
Make it look like slightly different. They fight for a long time, and then who comes back with very little explanation? Hanzo. He's back from the dead as
Hanzo's
Scorpion.
there.
He explains it himself. He says, literally, "I returned from hell to kill you."
Yeah, what more do you need?
And he didn't do that earlier or ever in the last 400
years. 400 years.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, why were you coming back now?
He had stuff to do.
Just because
Again,
we
the
love you as
letter
an
got
actor.
lost in the mail.
Yeah, he didn't realize what was going on. There's so much paperwork. He says, "Get over here." Finally, this fight goes on for a long time, and it's like the 3-man fight scene in the raid that goes on for a long time, and feels like it's not quite at that level. It's trying to be something like that, where you're awed at the sheer endurance
It's
of
still
them
a
fighting
great
for so long.
fight sequence. I think
It's pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, I think this is like the selling reel. Like they shot this and they're like, hey, give us more money, please, because
Yeah.
this looks great, right?
I see. Yes.
And it goes on for a long time
yes.
until Scorpion breathes fire on Sub-Zero, and then he dies. And it's like, again, were you building up your turbo bar like with each punch, and that's until you could get fire breath? Hanzo disappears, everyone reunites, and now Shang Tsung is mad because all of his champions have been killed, and he says, next time I'll come back with armies, which is, again, also the end of the Justice League Zack Snyder cut. Like, this movie has so much in common with that movie. And Raiden says to our heroes, I'll help you find some more fighters. And it's like, dude, just find them. Like, don't give them clues. Like, just go find them yourself. What are you doing with your time? Nothing.
Yeah, what does he have to do? He's literally been alive forever, ever.
Yeah.
He has so much time to kill. There's nothing going on in his cave. You know what I mean? There's no cable, there's no Wi-Fi. And it's like you have one wall that you've already decorated. Yeah. So it's like you might as well go look for fighters. Yeah. You have time to kill. Yeah.
And
why doesn't Outworld invade in the first place?
Wait, what? Yeah, why don't they have, because of the law, I don't know. Why? It's one of those things where, like, I think about it sometimes where the way that, and the answer is budget. Like that, why do aliens always invade with either a minimal force in a big city or a big force in the middle of nowhere? Because budget. And like when in reality, when you want to invade a place, like you send, or the same way that, it made me so mad in Avengers, was it Infinity War or Endgame? I think it's Infinity War, where Thanos attacks and first he sends his foot soldiers, then he sends his super foot soldiers, then he sends his heavy artillery and tanks, and it's like, that's not the way you would do that, dude. Like, soften them up with your heavy weapons.
Like,
then
how many
the
worlds did you defeat, dude?
Yeah, exactly. This is how you did it. Or in the Justice League movie where Darkseid has spaceships that he could bomb from above, but instead he sends his guys down to fight hand to hand, and he sends them to the place all the good guys have already landed. Go somewhere else. Like, there's a whole world. Establish a beachhead. Like, get your bases.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's just working under, like, some sort of outdated intergalactic sense of, fair play. Like, he's the British and the Revolutionary War, and we're the scrappy guerrilla planet. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Right, or the Intergalactic Geneva Convention.
Yeah. So anyway,
okay.
End of the last scene. Cole is now a Mortal Kombat champion. He's got to go seek out some other heroes. He tells, I guess, his trainer, or he tells the guy at the MMA gym
who books his like black market fights.
Fights,
I know.
That he's going to Hollywood. And he goes, okay. And then the trainer or whoever, Booker, walks by a poster for a movie called Citizen Cage, starring Johnny Cage, who's wearing a big belt buckle that says Cage. And I was like, do they not know how movies and movie posters work? Like, or is everyone in this movie playing themselves? Because usually when you make a movie, your name's not in the title, and don't have a belt buckle with your name on it. Like usually you're a character.
Charlie Kaufman wrote the screenplay for Citizen Cage.
Oh, okay. Now I get it. Never mind. Now I understand. It's a meta commentary on action movies. Now I get it. And so they're teasing that at some point in the future we're going to get Johnny Cage, who is movie star? What is he, Stuart?
Yeah, he's an action movie star.
He's an action star, and they're going to get him for real.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because he's
really
a champion.
Put his skills to the test.
And he was the one who had the famous nut punch ability that he used on Goro in the Mortal Kombat movie from the 90s.
Oh, right, where he does a split and then he punches Goro in the nuts? Oh, okay. You know what? Then Johnny Cage is my favorite. Now
So he can get on nut level? Is that what the split does?
And
Yes,
it's
exactly.
a show off.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's him showing off, look what my nuts can do, yours can't, and then he punches them.
Because
Yeah.
I gotta say, like, a nut punch ability seems like the worst arcana. Like, I mean, I could do a nut punch. That would
But
be
not
my
the same way.
mortal.
Not the same way.
I'm going to call your bluff on that one, buddy. We're going to have to see those cards.
Well, I'm not gonna get in a fight. I don't,
Nut
Look
talent.
at me.
Yeah, so the Dan's brag about his nut punch abilities was mainly to dissuade people from fighting him.
Guys, don't come try to fight me. I'll punch you in the nuts and I'll run away. So that's Mortal Kombat. Let's
Should we do our final judgments, Dan?
And then,
Let's
and
do
then
our
we get
final judgments. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say we get a theme song over the credits that is not as good as the original theme song from the original Mortal Kombat movie.
Now, is the original one the da 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 da? Okay, I didn't even the credits
Wait,
now.
what is it, Elliot?
Yeah,
Da 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 da. Mortal Kombat. Do 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 do.
Do they ever use it?
No, they don't. I don't think. It's the
think
same
it's
way that
terrible.
you don't hear
Come on.
Godzilla's roar in the new Godzilla movies because they don't want to pay for it. I think. I assume they're like, somebody owns the rights to that. We don't want to use it. I thought it was weird to replace it with "Oh yeah" from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but you know, and the Twix commercials. But okay, that's whatever you want to do.
Right. This one was done by Katie Lang, which I thought was maybe a little understated.
Understated, definitely.
Constant combat works. Yeah,
There
works
it is.
perfect. Yeah, and it stands for Combat D Lang. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because combat is spelled with a K in the Mortal Kombat universe. So Dan, should we do final judgments?
Yeah, final judgments is when we say whether we thought this is a good bad movie, a bad movie, or a movie we kind of like.
Now, if we knew what we were doing, we were professionals. We would say whether this movie was a flawless victory, or one of the other ones, but we didn't. So we're going with our same categories as
Babality.
usual.
or a babality.
Babality, yeah.
Man, you guys have really
friendship.
locked onto this
A
babality idea.
friendship. Wait, what did you
Guys.
call it before? A nutality?
A
Or a
nuttality.
nutality, yeah. Or a nutality.
Okay. Nutella.
So Dan, what did you think?
Mentality sounds like a terrible candy bar. I kind of like this movie. I gotta say, it benefited from my absolutely low expectations and the fact that it was nice to watch like a new big dumb action movie like at home after a year of like not having stuff like that. I agree with Andy that I liked that they had the absolute minimum of plot in between fights, even though the plot was also unnecessarily complex. But like they didn't linger over it enough for me to be like, ugh, come on. And I don't know, they put more care into it than I would have expected out of a Mortal Kombat movie, so I'll give it that. It's not that great, but I was not mad after watching it. Let's just put it that way. So let's go to Stuart. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think my closeness to the source material is probably a hindrance here. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like, especially introducing this whole Arcana idea where you get magic powers by getting a weird birthmark, like, that feels weird. Like, the idea that Jax's magic power is that his already weird metal arms just got bigger. Like, what? So, like, what would have happened if his arms didn't get frozen off, Dan?
I don't know.
Maybe
man.
his arms would have gotten bigger then anyway.
He still would have had,
get
he would have had
more
even
swole.
bigger arms, or maybe he would have had like little arms growing out of his regular arms. So he's got
That's-
like
see,
multi-
that's
It's like
what I
when
want to
only
see.
parts of the Hulk, only when parts of the Hulk out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're
exactly.
just the
Yeah.
arm.
Everybody's right on this. So I'm going to say I think this is I would say this is kind of a bad. I didn't care for this. Although I think the opening and the end fight are both pretty fun, and I'll watch Joe Taslim do anything.
Well, let's give our guest the final word. Elliot, what do you have to say?
I think, you know what? I think similar to Dan, I think my expectations going in were so low that this ended up being not exactly a movie I kind of liked, but a movie that I didn't mind. And the fact that this movie is somehow almost 2 hours long, but it didn't feel that long, maybe because like maybe it was because the movie kind of moves relatively quickly. Maybe it was because I was doing dishes the whole time that I was watching it. But either way, I thought this was not a movie necessarily that I kind of liked, but it wasn't quite bad or good bad for me. But again, if this was a group of characters that I cared about, I would have been like, what is this? Like, what's going on here? But since I have no connection to the MKU,
And to our honored guest, what do you have to say?
My dear?
Would you like me to go? It is bad. You want to tell me this is based on a video game? I want cheekiness, honey. I want jokes. I want to have some fun with that. Because it's nonsense, right? So you've got to have these people, at the very least, be fun to watch as they go about this very silly journey.
That's very true.
And they weren't having fun with it.
Yeah.
And that's what made me so mad. It felt very lazy. It felt very like guy, fighter, daughter, realm, fight. Oh no, we did it. And I just thought they should have had some fun with it.
Yeah.
They should have had a punch-up room, something.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, Kano was the only one, and then he's like only in it for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I think, though, I'm going to say good, bad. And again, with the asterisk that it could have been quarantine euphoria that made me enjoy it so much.
Like,
All
well,
right?
not that you were euphoric in quarantine.
No, that like
You
I'm
have to
seeing
clarify.
like Dan, I'm seeing something new.
Yes.
There's something new. It could have also been, we have a tradition in our house where we play boggle on our phones
Yeah.
while we watch things.
We call that boggle toggle. I'm kidding. It doesn't have a phrase, but I just want to
It does now. It's boggle toggle now and forever.
So it could have been I was like partly distracted. I liked Kano. I like that actor. That actor is from like House of Lies and Superstore.
And he also
And
apparently
he's-
played Paul Hogan in a 2-part miniseries called Hogs: The Life of Paul Hogan.
What?
For Australian
What?
TV? Which
Yes,
Oh, no,
that feels
Hogs:
right.
The Paul Hogan Story, a 2-part Australian miniseries from 2017.
What?
But now I really want to see
Only
it.
2 parts for Australia's biggest export and
I
most
know.
respected human.
Dan, Australia has a really respected film community. I mean, not to shit on Paul Hogan, like he's fine, but
I say we queue up both seasons of Hogs, order ourselves some hoagies, and watch that shit.
Was this Mayor of Easttown?
Yes, very Mayor of Easttown.
I'm gonna want them hoagies. So, I love that Captain America hat guy. I love the just how stupid it all was. I needed stupidity. All right, I think it just came at me. I think this particular amount of stupidity came into my life at the right time. It was like a meet cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what made me enjoy. I enjoyed making fun of it with Naomi, and that could have just been part of it.
Well, that's part of what keeps us going.
Right.
You know, making fun of things. And that meet cute, I just imagine Mortal Kombat drops all its papers in the hallway, and then you pick it up. And, like, that's how the romance begins.
That's a friendship.
You're walking your dog, and Mortal Kombat is late for a big job interview, and and you bump into each other, and the dog like runs around the two of you so that the leash pulls you close together, and you just keep after that you just keep running into each other, and you do not like it until suddenly you're in love.
Yep. Yep.
And that's what I would
Yep.
call a friendship.
Okay.
Yeah. So good. I think good, bad.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for being honest. I'm proud of you for being honest.
Hey, it's John Moe. And look, these are challenging times for our mental and emotional health. I get it. That's why I'm so excited for my new podcast, Depression Mode. We're tackling depression, anxiety, trauma, stress, the kinds of things that are just super common but don't get talked about nearly enough. Conversations that are illuminating, honest, and sometimes pretty funny, with folks like Patton Oswalt, Kelsey Dara, and Open Mike Eagle.
I have this public-facing self, and then I have my emotional self that tends to stay hidden. It was about finding a way to communicate to somebody that, like, there's terrible going on back here.
Plus psychiatrists, psychologists, and all kinds of folks. On Depression Mode, we're working together, learning, helping each other out. We're a team. Join our team. Depression Mode from Maximum Fun, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi. Are you someone who thinks that when one door closes, another one opens?
Someone who always sees the light at the end of the tunnel.
If you answered yes to one or both of these questions, good for you.
We are not those people.
Nope. I'm Annabelle Gurwitch, and I'm that other door opening, it probably leads to a broom closet kind of person.
And I'm Laura House. When I see a light at the end of a tunnel, I assume it's a train headed right toward me.
Laura and I have created a brand new podcast for people like us. It's called Tiny Victories. We're sharing personal tiny victories or things we've read or seen that inspire resilience.
So if you're looking for a tiny reason to get out of bed each week, subscribe to Tiny Victories.
Available on Maximum Fun or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's get tiny.
The Flophouse is sponsored in part by Squarespace. Squarespace helps you create a beautiful new website where you can blog or publish content, sell products and services of all kinds, and much, much more. And Squarespace does this by giving you beautiful, customizable templates created by world-class designers, everything optimized for mobile right out of the box, a new way to buy domains and choose from over 200 extensions, and free and secure hosting. So head to squarespace.com/flop for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code FLOP to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Hey, Dan, I had an idea for a website, and I was wondering if you thought Squarespace would be able to help me with all the amazing stuff that you
Lay
just
it
told
on
us
me,
about.
brother.
Okay, I was inspired by basically a combination of this movie and also my recent interest in marsupials. And look, I'm just going to say it. At times like these, all of us are sharing the same worry. Is my pet marsupial going to outlive me? Because I'd like it to. That's why mortalwombat.com is where you would put in all the information about your marsupial pet, and it will tell you an estimated longevity. How mortal is this wombat? You're going to find out on mortalwombat.com. This is just for education and recreation purposes. Please do not make any life decisions based on our estimates. But finally, there's a place online where marsupials can have their life expectancy accurately, but not legally, predicted.
Yeah.
And if it's a non-marsupial pet, I'm sorry, there are other places that already do that. You don't need us. This is for marsupials.
Yeah, don't tell your marsupial to quit its job and then, do some kind of bucket list scenario because it thinks it's dying based on the information provided by Mortal Wombat.
Yeah,
right?
Mortal Wombat, again, it is legally, and you have to sign a disclaimer, it is just for entertainment and partly education purposes. It is not an actual longevity test, but finally, you'll know how long your wombat will live. Again, not legally responsible. So I think Squarespace could really help me with that, right, Dan?
I think they could. So, go over to squarespace.com and use offer code FLOP. Now, Elliot, I believe you also have another word from another sponsor.
That's right. We got two sponsors today. And this second major sponsor is Storyblocks. Look, guys, now more than ever before, storytellers and content creators are challenged with producing more video content at a higher quality than in human history. In the Middle Ages, you could get away with making a tapestry maybe a year. But now, you got to keep that sweet content coming, and it's got to be at higher video quality than anything you can weave on a loom. You can keep up with the growing demand for that modern video content without sacrificing your vision with the stock media from Storyblocks. Storyblocks, it's great. It's a huge collection of stock video that you can use for any project. It's dedicated to being the world's best royalty-free stock media subscription service. There's no royalties. Once you've got your Storyblocks membership, you can use whatever you want on there. There's over 1 million high-quality stock assets, and the library is constantly growing. They've even got 4K HD footage. Looks great on those modern televisual sets. They've got After Effects and Premiere Pro templates. Not sure what those are, but they sound great. They've got music, images, sound effects, more. About the most fun thing you can do. They have affordable subscription plans, and with the Storyblocks Unlimited all-access plan, you get unlimited downloads of what's in their library, and you get to keep it, even if your membership ends. Anything you've downloaded remains yours to use, keep, show off to your friends, turn into the kind of video content that the world is craving right now. And as part of their ongoing stock initiative, Storyblocks has released a new round of collections, the Queer Spaces and Faces collection, created by some really incredible LGBTQ plus creators that will feature the layered experience of the LGBTQ plus community. So they're extending out to people, giving them a chance to get their voice heard through the medium of stock media. Sounds great. As you've maybe heard talk about in the past, we had our own very positive experience with Storyblocks. Dan made a hilarious video about needing to pee. It came out great.
Yeah.
All thanks to Storyblocks. So go to it. Explore their library and subscribe today at storyblocks.com/flop. That's storyblocks.com/flop. Use that library of media and prove Dan wrong. Do better than Dan. That's the challenge.
Do better than me. Please, everyone do better.
Uh-oh. And what's this? I think up next we got a Jumbotron. That's right. Employees are the heart and soul of a business, and taking care of them is the most important thing a business owner can do. Circles, spelled CIIRCLES, note the second I. Circles.com helps create people-first, fulfilling businesses. Our tagline is, how working together should work. So please visit circles.com, again, extra I, CIIRCLES.com/flophouse to learn
Yeah,
more.
remember how there's no I in team? Take that missing I from team, move it on over to Circles, circles.com.
Uh-huh.
So let's move on to letters from our listeners. And
That's right, Dan. It's time for listener questions. Stuart
has been grazing this entire podcast, and I cannot concentrate. He's a grazer.
Hey,
how's that mango?
I gotta pack my podcast snacks.
Is mango now the
Keep my energy
official fruit of the Flophouse
Yep,
podcast?
see-
Definitely in my
official fruit of the
top 5
Flophouse.
fruits.
Yeah.
Well,
It's up
maybe one of
there
the
with
listener cues
bananas,
is one of the listener
watermelon.
cues is what Stuart's top 5 fruits are. So
Can you put them in those classes?
Yeah.
put them in the tiers. Put them in the tiers.
So
Mango
as-
is S tier.
Yeah, totally. Bananas are A tier. I mean, these are my top 5. So I would say watermelon's also A tier of the melons. I would say there's some other melons are rated a little bit lower. I would say raspberries are my favorite berry, so that's an S tier berry right
What
there.
I like is this is a tournament competition right here. Is you've got the winners of each of these different weight classes. Yeah.
And then I would say pears. I like pears.
Wow.
That's
okay,
five.
we're not hearing enough about
That's
pears
5.
as a culture. We're not hearing enough about pears.
It's like
That's
like
huge.
more mellow than an apple for me.
I'm working on
Yeah,
I'm
I
working on an
agree.
article for Teen Vogue about it, where pears used to be everywhere. What happens?
Now, and of course, Elliot famously hates all fruits. So
Yep. Except my son constantly corrects me that cucumbers are a fruit, so I guess I like one.
Oh wait, do you really not like fruit?
Don't like them. Don't like the taste, smell, texture. It's disgusting to me. Anyway,
Is there any fruit?
Do you like sweets?
not particular. I don't really have much of a sweet tooth, to be honest.
Okay,
yeah.
you don't
So that's
like
part of it.
sweet
I'm not
things.
much into.
Yeah.
I like savory things, and I like things that I like parts of animals. That's
do
basically.
you like do you like something that's unctuous? You like an unctuousness?
I don't really know what that word means, but yes.
It's like an oily fattiness, you know.
Yeah. Oh, then yes, very much so. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, we've got that going for us. Anyway, so the first letter is from Ryan, last name withheld, who writes, "Dear Floppers, recently while relaxing after COVID vaccine dose number 2, I took a chance on watching Willy's Wonderland. This recent Nick Cage film is so fun, I won't even say more about it, other than it involves everyone's favorite member of the Coppola family trapped in a Chuck E. Cheese-style nightmare with fully real costume actors playing the heck out of some really wonderfully designed murderous animatronics outfits. I was blown away by how genuinely funny, frightening, and kick-ass this movie could be at times. Especially since I only clicked on the movie after the rare for me anyway urge to watch something stupid. Okay, well that's why I tripped up, because there was
Okay, that's
a
why you
typo.
tripped up. It wasn't the fever.
No, it's
Blame the
not.
writer.
It's-
No, blame blame
I'll
the
blame
text.
Ryan, last name withheld. When was the last or best time you picked a dumb movie that turned out to be a genuine delight to watch? Bonus points for one you wish you'd seen in theaters, because, man, I'd have loved to see this on the big screen. Floppers, rise up. Ryan, last name withheld. So, does anyone have an example of a good movie that they picked thinking, like, oh, this will be a dumb lark, and then realizing that they actually genuinely enjoyed it?
I mean, in a way, I did get that experience in the theaters with a little movie called Cats, which we've talked about plenty on the Flophouse.
Really?
But went to see it because we were doing it for the Flophouse, and it's one of those movies where at this point my ironic liking of it has gone into a new level where I'm just like, oh, God bless those people who made Cats. They didn't know what they were doing. But like certainly they
Yeah.
didn't come up with what they wanted to make, but they came out with something, you know.
Interesting.
I mean-
Andy, did you have one?
I do.
Yeah, go.
Yeah. Clifford, starring Charles Grodin
yeah.
and Martin Short. I thought it was just going to be some dumb crap, and I'm just like, well, I'll just put it on. Martin Short is just like playing the heck out of an insane 10-year-old. But Charles Grodin is, it's Charles Grodin, but he is incredible. His timing is incredible in it. He is so good at playing that character. Do you guys, have you seen Clifford?
Yeah, sure.
It's on HBO
Yeah.
Max.
No, it is. I like how genuinely
like a true Maximista.
mean-spirited that movie is. Like, you think it's just going to be like a dumb, like, I don't know, like Problem Child or whatever, but it is
Yeah.
mean. It is a mean movie about
Right.
mean people doing mean things to each other, which makes it a lot funnier.
Yeah, it wasn't for me, but I will say, like, I didn't expect that ending, like when Charles Grodin does kind of go off on Clifford and it's like, I'm gonna ruin you. I thought that was very satisfying, because I usually hate when like a kid is bad and then of course no one else sees it, and then the person like feels like they're taking crazy pills. So I like that part. Like, I didn't think that was gonna happen. So that was
Yeah.
Like, we need to
I
talk about
want to
Kevin.
say Mason. Clifford.
Clifford. You're obsessed.
Yeah, I mean, this sort of thing happens to me every once in a while with like TV shows. I mean, I remember when my wife and I were like trying to figure out something to watch, and I was probably like fucking around with a miniature or something, and she's like, well, why don't we put on this show called Instant Hotel, which is a show where Australian Airbnb owners compete against each other to have the best instant hotel, which is a term I'm assuming they made up for the show because they can't say Airbnb. And within like halfway through the first episode, we were totally hooked. Now, the first season, you can't catch that lightning in a bottle twice, so the first season's great. I totally recommend that shit. And to have seen it on the big screen, that would have been amazing.
Instant Hotel on the
Instant Hotel on Netflix. First season's wild. But I would say for movies, Kidnap, the Halle Berry SUV thriller.
Kidnap with a P.
Yep.
Just a P, not kidnapped. Kidnap.
Just Kidnap.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a hard time with like one that I think is maybe like genuinely like I would unabashedly recommend to folks. But I think I've mentioned on the on the show in the past that we started watching Doppelganger, the Drew Barrymore '90s thriller about Drew Barrymore, who may or may not have a doppelganger going around murdering folks around her.
A Drupalganger.
Oh my.
Yeah, and we put it on at like 12:30 at night. I think it was after like we recorded a Flophouse mini, and I just wanted to like have something on for a couple minutes to come down, you know, like before bed, and figured like, oh, we'll turn it off. But we ended up watching the whole thing, and it is you know, it straddles the line. And one might call it a good bad movie because so much of the joy of it is how weird everyone is acting, and some of them are not acting particularly well. But the film spirals into madness in a way that I was not expecting, and I don't like it. It ends up in a place that I don't think anyone watching the first 10 minutes would expect, and I really enjoyed that. Elliot, do you have anything? You look confused. You don't have to.
I don't think I have one. I don't have one. I feel like, because I guess Clifford should have been mine, but I still didn't like it enough. Because I was like, why is he so evil? I hate evil children. So I don't have, and like also in real life, I don't like precocious children. So like anything that kind of lives in that world, I'm like,
Yeah. I when a child acts like an adult in a movie and we're supposed to find that charming, it's just like, what are you all seeing here? This is
it's always horrible. It's that's the Book of Henry syndrome, where Henry is such an unlikable, like, know-it-all jerk, and everyone is like, Henry, he's the best of us. Henry, you're so wonderful.
His parents let him order.
North?
Yeah, his parents let him order from the waiter by himself, and it's like, no, you should order for him. He's just a little kid. They don't get paid to deal with your children.
So we have another letter. It is from John, last name withheld, who writes, in reading about the 1994 movie North, I saw director Rob Reiner defend it by claiming it was a, quote, modern-day fable. And I realized that any movie that's described by the director as a fable or fairy tale for adults is bound to be terrible. Do you guys have any red flags in movie summaries or trailers that make you think the movie will be garbage? Thanks for all the fun. John, last name withheld.
I just want to jump in and say I think Andy was pointing out that that North features plenty of precocious children that everyone loves, right?
Oh boy, yeah.
Woof.
what was it?
The movie North.
Yes, which they talked about on a previous episode.
Is it?
Which is my only knowledge of the movie is from
Oh, okay. Then
Sorry.
you also might have gotten from what we were talking about that the modern day fable is surprisingly retrograde when it comes to the presentation of ethnic groups and genders. But I'll jump in here and say that something I've never liked in I'm not a fan of the structure that movie trailers use now. That they all use. I find it really super manipulative because they're all and boring. But anytime a trailer, they don't do this as much, but I feel like in the 90s there were a lot of trailers that would just be made up of people saying the main character's name over and over again. And it'd be like, Mumford, Mumford, Mumford. And you'd be like, well, if you had something fun to show me, you'd show it to me. But instead you're just showing me that the main character of the movie is in the movie and people are identifying that character. So it's a real sign to me that they didn't have a lot to advertise for the movie. But also,
yes.
there's certain... when you watch like an action movie and you see someone in the trailer say, kick the tires and light the fires, people, or like be in the middle of an action scene, you see someone go, I told you this was going to be fun. I know that movie is going to be not very good, or at least it's going to be disappointing.
Similar to that, like saying the name over and over, there's always the trope where it's like, Columbia Pictures would like to introduce you to a special character. that will change your life forever. Once you meet them, you'll never be the same. It's like, fuck you. I don't.
Each of us has within us a Billy Madison.
Bullshit person you want to let me know about. I don't care. Go away.
If the trailer mentions a visionary director, I'm like, we'll see about that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Or anytime there's a quote that says specifically an American classic, that always bugs me because I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I don't know what the modifier American means on classic, except that like a middlebrow Academy Award winning movie that like is not as good as a movie from another country is what you're telling me, or like not good enough to be a real classic. It bugs me. I don't like the devaluation of the word American. Guys, I'm a patriot. Anyway, have you been reading my Substack or following me on Parler? I've got a lot of stuff to talk about.
I don't like when anybody returns home and you watch them on a porch. Like I'm not here for like any indie like I'm back home in my small town. I don't want to be there, but I'm about to learn a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's like
the part, and there's always the part in the trailer where now it's switching gears, and they're going to show you scenes from the second half of the movie where everyone learns their lesson, and there's like a acoustic guitar or some kind of sad, kind of folky type song, but it's supposed to be uplifting, and gross.
Yeah.
I had two of them. One is that that THX metal sound, like the metal bending sound. If I hear that, I know it's not a good movie. I just need that one sound. It's like Pavlovian in my brain, right? You hear that. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? That
What's
sound?
the THX metal sound?
Yeah. That like
that thing.
Yeah, like a big drop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, and if the song Salisbury Hill is played in the trailer, I should have mentioned that's. Yeah, I'm not going to see that movie. But anyway, you're saying, Andy, I'm interrupted.
And anyone that says we're going to need a bigger, anyone that like takes like an old like thing like from Jaws or something and says we're going to need like a bigger gun or whatever, like see a monster comes on screen and they turn to each other, something like that. I'm just like, man, we're done.
Yeah.
Or if one of the Smurfs turns to the camera and says, "What, the Smurf?" or something like that, and you're like, "Ugh." I get it.
We're going to need a bigger Smurf.
You're like, just say it, Rainey.
Yeah.
You know the word. Just say it. Now, of course,
coward.
the thing is, if I'm watching a trailer and a record scratches, like, wait a minute, what? I know it's going to be hilarious. This is going to be hilarious movie.
That's true,
Yeah. Okay, well, we do have one final segment on the show, and that is called Recommendations, movies that might be more worth your time than the one we talked about. I'll kick us off. I've had a big blind spot in the world of Japanese animation just because, and it's a dumb reason, I realize, the way they animate, the frame rate is different and it looks herky-jerky to me, and I've never quite adjusted, but I have slowly started coming around. And so while here on vacation, we watched The Castle of Cagliostro, which I enjoyed quite a bit. It is like, I've seen some of the later Miyazaki movies, the more sort of gentle, whimsical ones, and it is fun to go back to an earlier one where it's like this. It's still got a lot of the weirdness, but it's also tied to this almost like swinging 60s vibe, and I don't know. It was just like this goofy spy story. Like, well, not really spy, but like it's got that vibe.
He's a gentleman thief.
A gentleman thief. I had a lot of fun. I'm not going to say a lot about it because I'm sick, but I enjoyed it.
Dan, it is Castle of Cagliostro is one of my all-time favorite movies. I love it so much. Thank you for recommending it.
Oh, I'm glad to have brought a smile to Stuart's face. Stuart, what do you recommend?
Oh, man. I just watched on Hulu last night a great little sex positive comedy called Plan B, directed by actress
Natalie Morales.
And it's super great. It's about a pair of teenage girls in, I want to say, North Dakota. And it involves one of them having to get the Plan B contraceptive and the various travails of having to try and procure this. It is the interesting thing. My wife and I were watching it, and she brought up the idea that like when there's been a trend of like these sex positive comedies with a gender switch, whereas traditionally it was like boys being boys, whatever. But with women, there's sometimes the like threat of gendered violence makes the stakes so much higher. I don't know. And also just like the results of misbehavior can be significantly more damaging. But
Yeah.
it still manages to be. It's so funny and heartwarming and just fucking great, man. Check it out.
I'm going to recommend a movie now. Watch out, it's me coming at you. Now, people who have been following the show recently know that I'm on a Czech New Wave kick on the Criterion Channel, but I'm going to take a break from that today. I did briefly consider recommending another Czech New Wave movie, but I also took a break, and I was like, I haven't watched an old movie in a while. And I watched a movie called Picture Snatcher from 1933. It's a James Cagney movie directed by Lloyd Bacon, the director with the most delicious name of all directors. And James Cagney is a guy who's getting out of jail, and he gets a job as a photographer for kind of like sleazy tabloid newspaper that runs on shocking photographs. And it is a very pre-code movie where it is like, the main character is, it's like, I gotta sneak into this prison and take a picture of a woman getting electrocuted in the electric chair without the police finding out. And then he does it. And it's like, and by the end, you're like waiting for him to learn the lesson that he shouldn't do these things. And he never really does. And James Cagney is so charismatic in it. And the movie kind of careens wildly from comedy to drama and back again. Like, it's the kind of thing that's mostly a comedy, but then it ends with a character being shot to death on camera. So like, it's not entirely comedy, but it was a real fun movie. Are women treated with as much respect as they deserve in it? No, not quite. But it is a movie from 1933. It's super short. It runs at a real fast clip, as a lot of those Cagney movies do. And it was real fun. It's called Picture Snatcher.
And what might Jimmy Cagney sound like, Elliot?
Yeah, he'd be like, well, I don't see why we have to put all this money into Mortal Kombat champions when the private sector seems to be handling the issue perfectly well. So that's my Jimmy Cagney impression. How was that?
Thumbs up.
You didn't even specify
S tier for me.
Didn't even specify that.
Is S tier good? I still don't know, by the way.
S somehow is better than A, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah. But what movies?
Alphabetically.
What movies have you been watching that you liked, other than Clifford?
Tell me if this counts or not. This is a series of feature-length documentaries by Adam Curtis.
Documentary.
They are feature-length, called "Can't Get You Out of My Head." And if that doesn't, if that doesn't fit the criteria, then his 2016 documentary "Hypernormalization." I love Adam Curtis a lot. I think he's a great documentarian. He makes. It's in the same, who's the Thin Blue Line kind of guy?
Errol
Morris.
Errol Morris. Same, like, I'm going to make a documentary, but it's going to have style to it. And Adam Curtis just does these, like, really interesting documentaries about they're basically like philosophical dissertations on how did we get to the hell we're living in right now. They're all, and every one of his is like just a different kind of, looks at a different facet of like the 20th into the 21st century. And he just starts with these little stories, and then he takes the little stories and he expands them to explain like these larger cultural kinds of patterns. And the new one, Can't Get You Out of My Head, is like a 6-episode series of these feature-length documentaries, just like looking at how like individualism took over for collectivism and how that is the positives of that and also the negatives in the 20 and the 21st century.
That's like very fancy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very
And
fancy.
I think it'll show us our dynamic in the household, because what I'm going to say is Little Shop of Horrors, Rick Moranis version.
Oh, yeah.
It is a fun time. And you reminded me of that because you were like, what? Because I was like, what movies do we watch? Because we had been on an 80s, 90s kick.
Yes.
Over quarantine.
I could have also said Cruella, by the way.
We saw Cruella last night.
Okay.
That was also pretty great.
Too long, but gorgeous. But yeah, Little Shop of Horrors with Rick Moranis is so funny to me. It's like timeless. I could like still go back and just like, it's so funny. And I think that like, it's also one of the few for me movie musicals that is actually good. I think movie musicals are really hard and people keep trying to make them, nowadays. And they just like, don't work. But I'm telling you, Little Shop of Horrors.
And plus you can sing it with a loved one.
I think one of the best things about Little Shop, other than how funny it is and how like amazing the effects still are, is also like in terms of making it work as a musical, it walks that line between looking kind of like a stage production, very stylized, while still looking like a movie. And that makes it work really well. Guys, thank you so much. This has perked me right up. Thank you,
Thanks
Andy and
for
Naomi.
having
You
us.
sound healthier, Dan. It's like laughter might be the best medicine.
Patch Adams is not my. It has become my attending. So before we go, we're going to ask. I believe if you had any plugs and if you wanted to mention your where you can be found on the web and such and such.
Sure. Naomi and I host a podcast called Couples Therapy, where it used to be a live show, and then after quarantine, it's we basically talk to comedians and comedic actors about their relationships, and then answer listeners' advice questions.
It's a good time.
Natalie Morales,
Plan B.
Great.
was just mentioned, has been on the show before.
Was James Cagney ever on the show?
What might he sound like, Elliot?
If he was on the show,
He'd be
answers
like-
a relationship question.
Oh, well, it's me, James Cagney. What's going on around here? Harvey. That's James Cagney, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I guess we could, I just plug Couples Therapy, watch Mythic Quest on Apple TV. I think we're having a real good time. Real full of lulls.
Naomi's episode just debuted where she is basically the main character.
That is very sweet. But, Carol's just in the back.
I have to admit, I have watched and enjoyed Mythic Quest, and it was only after I followed you on Twitter. I'm like, oh shit, she's the HR person on Mythic Quest. It's so good. I really enjoy that show. Thank you for coming on for our video game episode. It's a real tie-in. But
I know, perfect.
No, it's great.
It's the kind of
and
thing that
you're
we
great on
really
it.
should have made more of a big stink about at the top. That there's an actual theme reason other than Andy just harassing on Twitter saying that you guys should talk about this movie.
Wow,
That's-
harassing is a
yeah,
strong
that's
word,
pretty-
Elliot, for you to bring
pretty
that
wild.
out here.
Oh, wow.
Okay, maybe not harassing.
Wow.
In the last 2 minutes, we get how you
I've been
really
holding it
felt.
back this whole time, just this rage I've been feeling.
Andy's been serving you these James Cagney softballs all day.
I know. I should really be thankful. It's too bad that James Cagney is one of the people that I have no good impression of. Not that my other impressions,
one.
as opposed to my other impressions, which are spot on,
Flawless.
amazing.
Exactly.
Just super flawless.
Exactly.
Yeah, flawless victory.
So rich.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. Thank you to MaximumFun.org for being our network. I mean, that's not the name of the network. That's the name of the website. You can go to check out a bunch of other podcasts. I'm fading. It's finally happening.
No, it's just like the other day I went and picked up lunch at Popeyes.com. Yeah. It was,
Yeah. But
You made him die, Elliot.
yeah.
Stop it. He wants it to be done.
sorry.
yeah, thank you. I'm just gonna speed through it. Thank you. Tell people about us. Thank you for supporting us. Anyway, for the Flophouse, I've been Dan McCoy.
I've been Stuart Wellington, and also thank you to Jordan Cowling for producing our show.
Yes, thank you, Jordan. Sorry.
I'm Elliot Kalin, or am I? Perhaps I'm James Cagney. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Naomi Ekperigin.
Andy Beckerman.
Bye.
Bye.
Stuart's the one who actually eats mangoes all the time, and yet I've somehow been painted with that brush. So
No, it's not that. The problem is not the eating the mangoes. The problem is that you once missed part of a movie we were talking about because, as you said, you had to go cut a mango up. And so
it took longer than I expected.
that's become shorthand in our house. Sammy, my older son, he's always like, I'm like, Dan didn't do this thing. And he's like, what, was he busy cutting a mango? That's shorthand in our house for what Dan is busy with at the moment.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned. Audience supported.